This is George Dingledye, Wabash Carnegie Public Library Oral History Program on the Vietnam veterans. And it's Wednesday evening, August 7th, 1985, and I'm interviewing William R. Evans at the Wabash Carnegie Public Library. Now, Bill, I'm going to call you Bill. Now, you tell me about your background, about your parents and yourself and so forth, and where you were born, who they were, and your mother's maiden name, all that stuff.
My father is Walter Evans. He was born in Clay County, Indiana, and moved here and joined CCC camp. And he was there about 2 or 3 years. CCC is the Civilian Conservation Corps. He met my mother, whose maiden name was Lulu May Ward. She lived at 564 North Spring. She had 2 sisters, Ruth and Flossie. Both my parents are still living.
Your birthday?
My birthday. I was born on the 29th of March, 1940. I have an older sister, Margie, and I have a younger sister, Ruth Ellen.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember your grandparents and who they were? And your father's side?
My father's side was my grandfather's name was William, and my grandmother's name was Lorene. Mm-hmm. They lived in Clay County, Indiana, both of them.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever see them?
Oh yeah, I knew them both well.
Yeah. Are they still there?
They are both deceased.
Yeah. Okay, on your mother's side, their parents?
They are both deceased.
Names?
My grandfather's name was Arvel, and my grandmother's name was Catherine, as Arvel Ward. Mm-hmm. Grandmother moved here from Ireland, from Cork County, Ireland, and met my grandfather in Massachusetts. And he was originally from Wabash. Mm-hmm. And then they moved back here with their family, and Grandpa was a printer. And he's really proud that he was a printer. He used to walk around town. He wouldn't wash the ink off, but he wanted everyone to know he was a printer. He wanted to have the dirty hand. Mm-hmm. He's really proud of being a printer.
Mm-hmm. For whom did he work?
Himself.
He was his own shop? He
had a shop in, there's an old wood shed back of the house on Spring Street. And
yeah.
Worked back there and printed.
Yeah.
He also figured out a new system for rearranging the keys on the typewriter, which never got published, but he did write the book on that for himself.
Yeah. Never got anything out of it, or copyrighted it, or
no, he never pursued it.
Never pursued. Incidentally, I don't know if you've been reading about computers or anything else, but they're now back to this business about a more efficient keyboard for computers that you could go faster than anything else. And it's probably Grandpa's system warmed over again. I'm sure it is.
I don't know. He had a system he thought was a lot faster, but it never got anywhere.
Let's see if we're... next question I'm going to ask you is about your personal education and where you went to school and things like
that. I started out at Miami grade school. Mm-hmm. In kindergarten, and I got kicked out and expelled the second day of school. Young lady sitting ahead of me, I cut off one of her pigtails. Mm-hmm. I was only there 2 days, and they transferred me to West Ward by popular demand. And I was at West Ward through the 3rd grade. At which time in the 3rd grade, we found out that my sister Marjorie was I don't want to call her a typhoid Annie. She was a carrier of diphtheria. Mm-hmm. It had no effect on her at all, but she could give the disease to anyone and everyone. And we spent several months quarantined in our home. We lived at 868 West Main. And We spent several months quarantined with daily visits from a doctor. His office is where the Elks Club is now, down here on the corner. It's long gone.
That'd be Dr. Black?
Yes, Dr. Black.
Mm-hmm.
And, anyway, we spent several months quarantined, having groceries carried to our door and people talking to us and through the door, and daily shots. And several months of that, my younger sister, Rochelle, and I were declared safe that we could go back to school, which we did. We went to live with Grandma Ward on Spring Street, and we attended Eastward School for 1 year,
Mm-hmm.
4th grade. I missed several months of school, but I was still able to pass, and I was glad of that. Then Mom and Margie, they recovered from the situation, and everything is back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
After the 4th grade, I went to live with my father. Mom and Dad were divorced, and Dad bought some ground out here on Mill Street, which part of it now is the Honeywell parking lot. There's a big patch of woods there. He built a cement block house there. Somebody painted it red, I think. Anyway, we lived out there, and I went to 5th and 6th grade at the Lindlawn Grade School, which is also gone.
Mm-hmm.
A couple maple trees still stand there where it used to be the sidewalk. That went right up the center of them. Junior high, I spent across the street here from the library on the corner, and we moved to town, and I went to junior high there, and I was with Dad's third wife. His second wife, I lived with him and his second wife out on Mill Street, and him and his third wife here in town. And about 15, I went to live with my grandmother downtown. I continued through high school and graduated from Wabash High School in 1958, which I believe we were the first class to exceed 100 students. No big thing, it just happened to be that way. And I joined the Air Force. I joined the Air Force, I believe, on a Tuesday. I graduated. I signed up for the Air Force on Tuesday. I graduated Wednesday, and I left a week from the next day, which was a Thursday.
In May 58?
June of 58.
Okay.
June of 58. June 18th, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
June or something. Too many years ago.
Yeah.
I went to Lackland Air Force Base in Texas. I went through boot camp there. I went to Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi for a radio and navigational school, which I didn't like. Went to school there for a while. I spent about 6 weeks waiting for school. Part of our job training while we were waiting for school to start was mowing the grass.
Mm-hmm.
We did this, several hundred of us, crawling around on our hands and knees, pinching the grass off. You take a pinch of grass and you break it off. Well, anything that sticks out, you pinch off and put it in a butt can, which is a gallon can. And we spent about 6 weeks mowing the grass for the Air Force. Then we went to school, and I didn't really like the school, so I was maintaining a 92 grade average, but I still just plain didn't like it. It just wasn't my cup of tea.
What was the school in?
Radio and navigational
Okay.
systems,
All right.
and I'm not interested in anything like that. The Air Force, in their great wisdom, felt that I was interested, but I didn't think I was. I left the school, and I wished I were back, because I ended up in Charleston, South Carolina, in civil engineering squadron. And I ended up in the roads and grounds section. So I spent the next 4 years of my illustrious career in the Air Force chopping weeds with an idiot stick and mowing grass and running a jackhammer. Myself and 5 others, well, actually 4 others, because one of them was a sergeant and they don't do anything. A sergeant and myself and 4 others in one summer at Charleston Air Force Base, we installed over 60,000 feet of sidewalk, the 6 of us. The cement work. They had a crew in ahead of us and did the grading and the forming. And all we did was pour cement. Another crew came along behind us and cleaned up the forms and moved them up. If you ever go to Charleston Air Force Base and you walk down a sidewalk, I probably put it in. I was involved in Hurricane Gracie in 1959, I believe, 58 or 9 there at Charleston. It did a tremendous amount of damage. Really bad. Trees everywhere were down. We spent about a year cleaning up after the hurricane. Mm-hmm. And during the hurricane, I worked straight through it, 52 hours straight with the engineering crew.
No rank at this time?
Airman nothing.
Airman nothing, okay.
Airman third.
Yeah.
Strictly flunky rank.
Yeah.
I was there a couple of years, and I was transferred to Travis Air Force Base, California.
Mm-hmm.
That was.
You're still not 21 years old.
I'm 20 years old.
20 years old, okay.
In January of 1960, I think I transferred. 61, I'm sorry. January of 61.
Mm-hmm.
I liked a couple months of being 21 years old. I got married at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And my trip to California was our honeymoon trip.
Mm-hmm.
And we lived there. We were stationed at Travis Air Force Base in California. I worked at the air base, and I worked off-duty in a little town of Vacaville at the root beer stand there, the NW root beer stand, makes a little extra money. That didn't last too long. And I was discharged from the Air Force in 1962 at Travis Air Force Base, California.
Okay. I just want to make a note here.
Okay. And I spent a couple years in reserve. Lived up at Warsaw, Indiana. Well, right after we got out of the Air Force, we had a child that was born to us, James Corbin. He was born July the 21st, 1962, and he died July 23rd, 1962. He was a premature baby. And he's buried at Oakwood Cemetery in a little section called Babyland.
In California?
No, Warsaw.
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 Why Warsaw?
He was born and died in Warsaw. We were discharged from the service and came home.
Yeah. Who did you marry first time, Bill?
Oh, Cleo Arnett.
And where was she from?
She was from Claypool.
Claypool. And where did you meet her?
I met her at Silver Lake skating rink.
You met her
At the Silver Lake skating rink, okay, which is also gone.
It's gone. Everything you've been touching is gone.
It burnt down later.
Yeah.
Had a big fire out there. It was a rat trap.
No.
Wood building. Had been there for day one.
Yeah.
We ended up getting divorced.
Did the death of the baby,
No, the baby had nothing to do with that. We had another. We got divorced, but it was a long ways down the line.
Mm-hmm.
we moved back to Charleston, South Carolina for a while, and I sold insurance there for Atlantic Coast, life insurance, which I didn't enjoy that either.
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy working with my hands. I enjoy building things.
Mm-hmm.
I do love construction, anything to work with my hands.
Yeah.
Anyway, we said to heck with this, and the Vietnam thing was going on. This took about 2 years, all this did.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Vietnam thing was going on, and I really wanted to go. I'd had 4 years Air Force and 2 Reserve. I didn't have to go. I wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
I had an uncle who would be my dad's brother, Jim Evans. His name is up here on the memorial at the courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
He was killed in Korea, 1950, and by the communists. And I think one of the main reasons I wanted to go to Vietnam was because there was a lot of talk then about the communist Chinese volunteers were going there, you know. And I said, you know, what the heck, I want to go too.
Mm-hmm.
I really put it ahead of my family, you know, which I shouldn't have done, but it's just something I felt I had to do. I had to go to Vietnam. I just had to go. So I did. And in April of 65, I was working at Walway Corporation here in Wabash, and I'd worked there a couple of years, or excuse me, about a year, and making custom furniture, which I enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's still there. It's one of the few places I've been at, and it's still
It hasn't
there.
left, yeah. As long as Bill Russell lasts.
Oh, yeah, Bill Russell, he's a dandy.
Yeah.
So, very different and unique person. I was working there, and said, to heck with it, I'm going, and I did. And we were renting off a feeder wall at the time. He had some apartments up here on Wabash Street. We were living there. I think we were paying $12 a week for a full furnished apartment and everything, utilities and everything, like $12 a week.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous.
But
today.
you were still married.
Oh, yeah, we were still married.
Yeah.
And I had a son born then, J.C., who is, at this time, in the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm. He would be how old now? He'd
He's
be 20,
21.
21, yeah.
He's 21 years old. He's married. I have a granddaughter, Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the Marines. He's home on leave right now. He's en route to Okinawa from Camps of June, North Carolina. He'll be over there for a year and separate from the family. But
So you had a son here in Wabash, and you're getting ready to go back into the service, is that correct?
yes, in April of '65, I joined the Army. I went to
Now, you'd been in the Air Force for 6 years, so any particular reason to join the Army, or?
I wanted to go to Vietnam.
Yeah.
That's
And you
my
couldn't
only
as
reason for joining.
and you couldn't as Air Force, or?
I didn't want to go with the Air Force. They were too Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
I'd had enough of the Air Force.
Okay.
I wanted to go with a combat outfit.
Okay.
And I joined the Army. I joined the Army, and I volunteered for combat duty in Vietnam. I was strictly volunteer, all the way, RA all the way, they say. I completed boot camp at Fort Knox, Kentucky. I came home on leave and was transferred to Fort Henry in Virginia, which is right out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. They're adjacent. And I arrived there on a Saturday morning. I was supposed to be a lark driver, what they call a lark driver. It's an amphibious vehicle that goes on land. You can drive it out in the ocean. It's got a drive shaft on it with a propeller on it. And I was supposed to be a LARP driver, but I missed the outfit. But one day they left Friday night, and there I sat. So they put me in the barracks with the headquarters company. And I was there a week or so, and made friends with a couple of guys that worked in headquarters. And I told them, put me in the first combat outfit you can. It's going to Vietnam. I want to go. Put me in it. As long as it's combat duty, I don't care. And they thought I was nuts, and I probably was. Mm-hmm. But that's what I had to do. And don't ask me why I had to do it, because I don't know, George. It's just, I had to do it. When you've got things, you just don't make any rhyme, reason, or sense. You just have to do it. So I did. I joined I got put into combat engineers. And they sent me to Fort Polk, Louisiana, to join up with the combat engineers. And they are, there's two Polks. There's North Polk and South Polk. And it's divided Army base for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, they sent me to Fort Polk. And I joined up with the combat engineering outfit there. And we very quickly shipped out and went to California. All the equipment got shipped ahead, and we got sent back home temporarily, see our families, and then I flew out to California and joined the group out there.
Okay, you're with you're still your wife and the baby are still in Wabash?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So you go out to California, and where do you go in California? Oakland is usually the stage area.
San Francisco, Oakland area.
Yeah.
I really don't remember where.
No. You rejoined this engineering group,
Mm-hmm.
which was numbered. You'll remember it when we go over it.
No, I won't.
Yeah.
I tried to remember before I came up
yeah.
here.
Okay.
Uh,
That's not important.
Anyway.
Well, anyhow, you're in Oakland, California, the engineering, combat engineers, battalion, company, regiment. What strength is it?
Battalion.
Battalion strength. Okay.
Everybody.
Yeah, okay. And what's your job and what's your rank by this time?
I am a corporal.
Corporal. And what is your MOS or your job?
I really don't have a job yet. I just joined the outfit.
Yeah.
I just there long enough to help load the trucks to send them to California and go home. I really didn't have a job.
Okay. Okay. Then what happens at Oakland? Excuse the interruption.
They put us on this ship, the USS General Leroy L. Tinge. Yeah. And later they flew everybody to Vietnam.
Yeah.
But us, they took over on the boat.
Right. The early ones went on the boat. The later ones flew.
It was designed to carry about...
Okay, we're on our way to someplace.
Well, we're still at the dock in San Francisco.
Okay, there's 4,000 on a ship designed for...
1,200.
Okay.
Way overloaded. Mostly engineers. There were some officers on board. There was a bunch of nurses. They were on the first deck above the water.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the 7th deck below the water.
Same way I went over. Might have been the same ship.
With the blowers that blew the air down didn't work.
No. Never do.
The bunks were
canvas. About 18 inches apart.
I wouldn't say they were that far apart.
No.
But they might have been.
Yeah.
You laid down and your nose was about 2 inches from the one above you.
Right. Hotter than hell, sweat, stink. The odor was enough to kill a man.
Yeah.
Then the guys that got seasick and heaved all over the place, and that even made it worse.
We didn't have any of that problem in the bunk area.
Uh-huh.
The biggest thing there was the sweating.
Yeah.
It was so hot.
Yeah, that's right.
And, of course, this soaked into the canvas.
Right.
And about 500 other guys just sweat and soaked the same
right.
canvas.
Right. Freshwater showers?
Salt.
Saltwater showers, absolutely.
We were given one saltwater shower a day.
Right.
And it's sergeant stood there with his wristwatch timing us. We were allowed 1 minute to get wet, 1 minute to soap, and 1 minute to rinse.
Right.
We got 3-minute showers, and it didn't matter whether you were ready or done or whatever. The man turned the main valve on and off, and that was it.
Yeah.
And you felt pretty good until you got out and your skin dried off, and then you just felt scuzzy with that salt film on there.
Saltwater soap they claimed worked, which didn't.
Well, I don't know if I had saltwater soap or what, but it sure didn't do much good. But it felt good for a few minutes.
Yeah.
The entire trip took 32 days. I was allowed no laundry facilities. There were none. I had 4 pair of fatigues, and the time we got there, they were really raunchy. I think they stunk worse than the bunks. Stand them up in the corner, they wouldn't fall down.
Yeah.
But
How did you pass your time?
sitting on my rear,
Where?
on the deck,
On the deck, right.
of which there was a rivet about every 4 to 6 inches, and there was nowhere you could sit without having a rivet poking you.
Did you have to go on blackout or not?
No.
No.
We, there were so many of us on the ship, we spent half our time standing in line.
Mm-hmm.
Time you got through the breakfast line, you were ready for the lunch line. They put me guard duty when we left. I don't know how I was lucky enough to get that. They put me in this, I call it a hallway. I don't know what they maybe called them, but just standing there looking dumb, 4 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, second day out, I was doing really great, and I saved this green apple to eat, and I ate it on an empty stomach, and I got seasick. And I was really sick and throwing up, and sitting there in the hallway with my feet against one wall, my back against the other, and the gallon can between my feet, legs, and throwing up into this gallon can. One of the crewmen told me it was all in my mind, and I told him it was all in the can. And anyway, one of the cooks gave me a box of saltine crackers. And said, eat those when you feel sick. And I did, and hey, they worked great. That was the end of that problem. A lot of the guys were seasick. We, the bathrooms, if you will, were a pipe about, I'd say 1.5 feet in diameter at the most. And they had toilet lids, seats on them, toilet seats. There weren't any lids, they were just seats. And the pipe ran across the room, and there was a seat every so far. And they pumped salt water through this to flush the system out. And you learned very quickly to sit on one of the middle seats or wait a while. Because when the ship got rocking back and forth, the water would get rushing through the tube, and it'd come up through the seats. And whatever was in there would come up with it.
Yeah.
So you very quickly learned to sit on a middle seat.
Yeah.
That's usually a mess in there on the floor, too. I was fortunate I didn't get latrine duty. I didn't have any of that to do. We got along pretty good. It was very hard sitting, and I didn't gamble or anything. A lot of the guys lost every penny they had gambling, but I didn't gamble. I did smoke. Cigarettes were $0.10 a pack as soon as you left the continental United States. They were probably $0.25 a pack then, and I don't know. They were $0.10 when you left the States. Really, we just sat around and talked and wished we had something soft to sit on. And we got to Guam. They let 3,000 of us off and put us on these cattle trucks. I call them cattle trucks. That's what they look like. And then they shipped us out in the boonies somewhere and let us off. They sold us 2,000 cases of hot beer at $5 a case.
For 3,000 men?
2,000 cases of hot beer for 3,000 guys,
Yeah.
$5 a case.
Yeah.
Said, don't throw any cans in the water. That was the wrong thing to say. These guys are, I don't drink, I don't like beer. I just don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I do drink one occasionally, but it has to be a very hot day and very cold beer. And then one will do me. In fact, one's too much. Half a beer will do me. Anyway, we were sipping and drinking this beer, and then they came out there and sold us a bunch of ice. Beer was half gone, but we bought the ice and dug holes in the sand and put the ice in the holes and then put the beer in there with it. Didn't wait for it to get cold. We drank it anyway. The guys was climbing palm trees and jerking the things off and making grass skirts and hula-hulaing. And there's a lot of beer cans floating around out there in the water. Empty ones. They sparkled with the moon on it.
But there was no one else around.
No, we were just out in the middle of nowhere. Just
Yeah.
3,000 guys and 2,000 cases of hot beer.
I wonder who the hell did this one up.
I'm not quite sure how we got back to the ship, but anyway, we all ended up back there. I remember, and boy, you talk about some seasick guys the next day when they took off again from Guam. Oh boy, made some non-drinkers out of a bunch of guys. We went through the Philippines. I was amazed at how many islands there were in the Philippines and how far spread out they were.
Now, did you stop or get off or anything?
No, just at Guam. And we were out a week or so, and somewhere we went by an island, and everybody ran over to that side of the ship to look at the island, and there were so many men on the ship, the gyros couldn't correct it. And they had to get on the PA system and say, some of you guys get over on the other side. So we did, and the ship corrected, and we had an emergency appendectomy, appendicitis, what do they call that?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. We had one of those en route, held in the water with the waves and operated and on this someone, I don't know. We had one of those on the way over. We had a typhoon on the way over, which I assume is our version of the hurricane. And that was a no one below deck or above deck, and everything roped off, and there we were, and 7 decks down, hoping. So we got through that. There was a lot of other people on the ship besides us, our battalion. When we got to Vietnam, at one time we were 4 degrees above the equator, and then I don't know where we ended up on Vietnam, up north somewhere. And we started coming down the coast, letting troops off different places. And we ended up at Vung Tau. That's where we got off.
You were the last ones?
I don't know. There's so many guys on there, I don't know. But it was getting a lot thinner around there. But
Now you get off on lighters, or you pull up to a dock, or?
we anchored out in the harbor and climbed down the rope ladders like you see in the movies of World War II, and into a landing barge. It had twin 50 caliber machine guns mounted on all 4 corners. I was impressed by those. I didn't know what the heck to expect when the ramp dropped down. We ran right up to the beach and dropped the ramp on the thing. I didn't know what was going to happen. And nothing happened. We just walked off. Bunch of Vietnamese standing around looking at us like, here's some more.
What is the date now?
Today is, we left San Francisco the 28th day of August, which is coming up here pretty soon.
Of what year?
1965. We went underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. We went by Alcatraz and Treasure Island. I got to see all that.
Yeah.
When the ship left, there was this band playing, you know, and I thought that was neat. We were waving goodbye to everybody. It was kind of like in the movies.
Yeah.
When we went, it wasn't like that when we come back. But when I arrived in Vietnam, there were less than 30,000 Americans in the country. And when the war escalated the following year, there was a buku bunch.
What, Bill, I want to ask you a question. What was your first impression of the smell of Vietnam?
Dead fish.
Dead fish, yeah. I've heard other expressions, and that's a different one. I've never heard that.
There's a big one hanging on the fence right there where we got off.
Where you got off?
Yeah.
Okay, you get off the landing craft, and sandy beach, is it? I was assuming.
Yeah, it was sandy. Yeah.
What did you do then? Go to trucks, buses, or?
I think they put us on trucks.
Yeah, and
deuce and a half. And we went a couple miles.
Yeah.
And we still didn't have our weapons loaded. And I didn't like that.
You had no weapon.
We had weapons.
Yeah, but you had nothing.
They weren't loaded.
No ammo.
We had ammo.
Yeah, but you weren't allowed to load them.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if they afraid we shoot our toe off or what, but
Yeah.
anyway, we weren't allowed to load them.
Did that seem strange to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite what I had in mind.
Yeah. Well, I've heard others saying they didn't get the ammo for 3 days, which
It
is
doesn't
sort of
surprise
discouraging.
me.
You know.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
We had ammo.
Yeah. So you go inland someplace, and
Not very far, a couple miles. It was a very sandy area. I couldn't see the ocean from there or hear it. We pitched poncho halves and made pup tents out of them and stood them up and camped out on the beach. My particular company and the platoon I was with had Sergeant Arnold. He was a dandy. We didn't have a lieutenant for squad leader, 50 men. Platoon leader, I mean. We had Sergeant Arnold, who was gung-ho RA and wanting a promotion, and he volunteered us for advance party for everything. We were advance party for the company, and the company was advance party for the battalion, and all the way through we were advance. But Sergeant Arnold loved to volunteer us, and he did at every opportunity. He volunteered us to fly inland. They dropped us off somewhere. I think it was Benoit Air Base, and we were there. And then they shipped us. Took us out in the boonies. I'm not sure where it was. A bunch of elephant grass. There was 50 of us in the advance party, and in the platoon. And we were advance party for the company, and we went out somewhere, I'm not sure, and dug a bunch of foxholes and spent the night, and there was firing all around us. All these sergeants were saying, "Don't worry about it." And, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm green as grass. I don't know nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, from sickening.
Yeah.
I'm dumb, green.
Yeah.
And a little scared. And especially because my gun's not loaded yet. I had an M14 with selective fire. I could fire full automatic or bang, 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 which was nice. I was selective fire. I was also supposed to be a backup gunner on the M60 machine gun that we had with us, which I eventually became first gunner on it. M60 machine gun is a very effective weapon. It replaced several others. Still in use today. And in fact, they use it on the choppers for door guns. Anyway, we were in Vietnam, and first night there, and a little scared. And we spent the night there in the elephant grass. And I'm not quite sure what we did the second night, or the second day. We were still getting kind of set up. The second night there, one of the things I wondered about on the ship going over is, what am I going to do when I get there? Am I going to be scared? Am I going to do my job? Am I going to be, what am I going to do? I wondered. I didn't think it'd be any problem, but I didn't know. And I wondered about it a lot on the way over, how I would react when I got shot at, or if I had to shoot at someone, because I'd never done anything like that. And I was 25 years old, by the way. I was really one of the old men in the squadron, except for Sergeant Arnold. But I was 25 when I went over. I really wondered about it a lot, and I thought about it a lot on the way over. And the second night I was in Vietnam. First night I was there, we just kind of hung around the foxholes and peeked out through the elephant grass and scared and stuff. I dug my foxhole. I came up about a foot from the bottom or so, and I dug a step into it. Because I wanted to be able to come out of there in a hurry if something went wrong.
Yeah.
I'm 6'6", and I have to dig a little deeper foxhole than the average person. I dug these little cubby holes back in there to put ammo and hand grenades and all the comforts at home.
Yeah.
But the second night there, I getting a little tired of sitting around the foxhole business. And I told the guys I was going to take a walk out through the elephant grass. I wanted to see what was going on out there, and please nobody shoot at me.
Yeah. So
They said that'd be fine if I was stupid enough to go out there and go ahead. So I did. And I was a little young and crazy, I'll tell you. I don't know, I got my kicks that way, I guess. But I went out through the elephant grass by myself, which elephant grass can be knee-high to head-high, you know, it just depends on where you're at.
Time of day?
This time of day? Oh, it's dark.
Yeah.
Night.
Okay.
Black. Nights in Vietnam get so black you can't see your face, your hand in front of your face. It just, you won't believe how dark some of the nights get. They're not all that dark. This night was dark, but it wasn't that dark. And I had my weapon loaded. 1 in the chamber and 20 in the clip, I'll tell you that. And I had my bayonet on and safety off. I was ready to go. So I took this very slow and cautious walk out through the elephant grass for a ways. And, I don't know, I was probably out 100 yards or so. And I came up on this dark object about, it's a couple feet high and about the size of a garbage can. And it had this. I could make out in the what light there was, what moonlight there was, or whatever. I could make out it was a pitch black blob with this hat on top of it, and all the. I want to call them gooks. I'm probably going to call them gooks. Because that's what we called them over there. I'm not prejudiced. It's just a term we picked up over there. All the Vietnamese wore these black pajamas and this black blob, and they all wore these pointy straw hats. Mm-hmm. One size fits everybody. Mm-hmm. And there was this black blob the size of a person stooped down about 10 feet away, and this little hat. I knew it was the hat. I thought it was I circled around and was heading back towards the camp by then, and I knew it was a person. I knew it was. I figured there was a Vietnamese all squatted down there trying to see what the heck we were up to over there. And I'd circle around behind him. And he was about 10 feet away. He or she, I didn't know. And there I stand, and green as the grass, and I didn't know what to do. I knew I couldn't walk away. That sucker would get me. And I didn't think he'd seen me yet. He hadn't moved. And I was really walking quiet and taking my time. Take a step and wait a step, And I stand, and he was too far away to bayonet, and I didn't want to shoot him, because those trigger-happy jerks back there on that line of foxholes, every one of them was going to be blasting away. And I knew what was going to happen. And also, if I shoot him and there's any more of them around there I can't see, they're all going to see the muzzle blast. And all these thoughts were going through my head, and it probably didn't take 2 seconds, but it seemed like I was thinking of everything. And I thought, well, I'm going to have to bayonet him. Because even his buddies will see the muzzle blast, and mine don't shoot me, his will. And I wasn't sure I could duck fast enough. So I knew I was in a bad position there, and something was going to have to happen. And they have a maneuver in the Army with the bayonet called long thrust, in which you take one giant step and really sock that bayonet out there. And I'm tall, long arms, 10 feet. I can do this. It's max, but I can get the job done. And then the thoughts.
I think we're at the... Okay, we were talking about the long thrust on the bayonet.
Yeah. I never, I had bayonet training in boot camp, but I never actually done anything like that. I thought I could reach him with the long thrust. But, I took the biggest step I could and the longest thrust I could, and hope it was long enough. I really didn't have any choice anywhere else to go. That sucker would get me if I tried to get away. And it never really occurred to me to get away. It would get him. It never occurred to me to get away, really. And all these old Army sergeants, they'd always tell you these stories about sticking the bayonet in somebody and you can't pull it out, and put your foot against them and jerk, and if that don't work, pull the trigger. Leave your finger off the trigger when you shove the bayonet in, because when you jerk, it's liable to go off, and the gun's liable to go off, not the bayonet. But anyway, all these thoughts are going through my head. And one thing I don't know about anybody else's experiences, but mine in Vietnam, when things happen like this, everything went into slow motion. I know it was normal speed, but in my mind, everything was in slow motion. Mm-hmm. You could see everything, you could hear everything, you could remember every thought you had later. It was just slow motion. It's the only way I can describe it. Everything went into slow motion. I don't know if it was the adrenaline in my mind speeding up so much that it seemed in slow motion. I never seen my life flash before my eyes or any of that crap. But everything went into slow motion. Yeah. And I know this didn't take more than a couple seconds, but it seemed like forever. Uh-huh. And so then I had this thought, where am I going to, I've never bayoneted anybody. I figured, well, he's squatting down. And so I aimed about 6 inches below the hat, and I figured the angle of the blade, I'd probably get him in the heart. And then I wondered how hard did I do it. Yeah. So I did it hard as I could. I decided that ain't hard enough, I'm in trouble.
You're going to drive it right through him.
I did.
Yeah.
I took a breath, and I took the step, and I thrust as hard as I possibly could. And I about fell down flat on my face, because the bayonet and the end of the gun went right through that bush into the dirt. I bayoneted a bush. Some idiot had left his hat sitting on a bush, and I killed the bush. I was relieved. I was I didn't know what. Glad, happy, sad, and mad. I ran the end of my barrel clear in the dirt. Had my gun full of mud. But when I thrust, I was thrusting at a person. I wasn't thrusting at a bush in my mind. There was a person there, and it turned out to be a bush. I was embarrassed. I didn't tell anybody. But it was a bush. I tell people now because it was a funny incident.
Yeah.
And funny incidents was my way of, when I came back home, was my way of getting Vietnam out of my system. To remember not the bad things that happened, not the gory things, the sad things, not to remember those. My way of getting Vietnam out of my system when I came home, which took a while, was to remember the fun things, the silly things, the dumb things.
Yeah.
And this is one of them.
Yeah.
I killed that bush.
Yeah.
And I had to sit there all night with my gun. I tried cleaning my gun in the dark, but you can't tell if it's clean or not.
Yeah.
I ran the cleaning rod down through the barrel and hoped it was clean.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was fired because I got the mud out of the barrel. But I killed that bush. But in my mind, I killed a person at the split second that I thrust. And I knew then that I wouldn't have any trouble. Or, I don't know what the word, I don't want to say trouble. It wouldn't be any, I wouldn't hold back. I'd, do what I had to do. I knew at that time, I killed a bush, but for a split second there, I was killing a person. And this is my second night in Vietnam. And from that point on, I didn't worry about it anymore because I knew I could do my job. And I always thought of it as doing my job. I'm sure some of the Vietnamese didn't think of it that way. I was in a combat engineering group, but really we spent the first 6 months just clearing the areas. It was basically a combat situation. They used to bring our mail to us from Benoit Air Base. We were, I'm going to say 5 miles from Benoit. And they brought our mail to us. And in an armored column. Usually it made it, and about once a week it didn't. And there was never any problem getting volunteers to go get the mail armored column from Benoit through. There were a lot of rubber plantations around there in different stages of growth. Some were just stumps. It amazed me the first time I seen rubber sap. It was white like milk. I always thought rubber was black. But the sap seeps out of the trees when you cut them and or shoot them. And it was white. It really amazed me.
What were you preparing? Were you preparing for fire bases? Were you building fire bases, or were you?
No, we weren't doing any work, construction work, really. The heavy equipment crews were in there doing their part, but my part of it was had nothing to do with heavy equipment. Well, there were a lot of road graders and dozers around clearing land and stuff like this. They later put in a big ammo dump. They put in the what we fondly called this place we were at was called Long Bien Ton. From Benoit, this little area was called Long Bien Ton. And at the road intersection near there was a tank that was sunk in the ground clear up to the turret. Obviously from World War II. It was really a rusted hulk. We were at Long Bien Ton. And we were there mostly. We worked in a combat situation until all the heavy equipment crews got their work done for the first 6 months. Guard duty and night duty and patrol duty. We slept 2 hours on and 2 hours off. We slept in shifts. We guarded each other at night. We slept on the ground in our poncho. You sleep with your back to the uphill side and lay your poncho down and pull it over you, and the water runs around you that way. And it rained all the time over there. I think that's one reason it took the crews so long to get the areas. They cleared an area for a hospital. They cleared an area for a bunch of barracks. They cleared an area for us, a base camp, which in about 6 months we got. They cleared an area for a big hospital complex.
Well, basically, then all you are is you're acting as the guard in the perimeter so they can do their work.
Yeah, I'm in the combat engineers, but I'm really in a combat position.
Yeah. Are you getting the feeling that this war is really getting hot? Or here you are, there's 30,000 men in country. You get the feeling that this thing's going to get hot? I mean, there's going to be a whole lot of people following you? Or
I feel
what
like
are you doing there?
I know we're making a place for a whole bunch more people to come through there.
Yeah.
We're about 20 miles from Saigon, probably.
Kennedy's still president? Johnson's president by now.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Because we also cleared an area there. The heavy, I say we, I was guard duty, but the heavy equipment people also cleared an area for a big jail.
Yes.
And we called it the LBJ after Lyndon Johnson. Called the Long Bend Jail. But everybody slanged it and called it the LBJ, Long Bend Jail, which they had a lot of prisoners there.
Are there civilian contractors coming in then and doing
No,
the work?
all military.
All military.
All military. I was there 4 months, and I had yet to sit in a chair, or I hadn't went to town or anything. I was there just right out in the field 4 solid months.
Okay.
We had direct exchange on our clothes. You wear them until they fall off and get some more. They were 2 rank. And you just turn them in a supply and get another set. We had direct exchange on our fatigues and boots. We didn't have the combat boots yet, the new ones with the steel soles, which I later got. I spent about the first 4 months there. I hadn't sat in a chair or been to town or anything. I was just out in the field for 4 solid months.
Any contact with Vietnamese civilians at all? Are they there selling you beer or
Shot at them.
women or anything like that?
No,
Nothing.
0.
Yeah.
Oh, we see them walk by on the road.
Yeah.
Or we set up a shower there. These old fuel tanks off an airplane.
Right.
Made a shower out of them. And that was pretty good. The women would go by and holler at us and laugh and giggle and point, but we didn't care. There wasn't any privacy, but we didn't care. And they were pretty far away. They could just see us over there. So we made a shower out of these old fuel tanks off an airplane, wingtips. And we improved on that later. We dug us a latrine there. This is a base camp area. We had a lot of different incidents there. We did buy Cokes off the Vietnamese. There was a little hooch outside the camp area there.
Okay.
There was a little hooch outside the camp area. And they were all Viet Cong, we found out later. The father, I never did see a Vietnamese didn't have a gold tooth. It was just richest to poorest. It was like a status symbol of some kind. They all had a gold tooth.
Yeah.
But this sucker, every tooth in his head was a gold. And we bought Cokes off him for a couple of weeks. And one day we were down the road, about 1.5 miles, and we shot him out of a tree. He was sniping at us. He got where he knew which way we went all the time, and he decided to have some fun and shoot a few of us. And we shot him out of the tree.
Killed him?
Huh?
Killed him?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
You weren't supposed to, according to the Geneva Convention, you weren't supposed to rob the bodies of anything. and I didn't. And 99% of the guys did not. We did have a couple guys that had a very nice collection of gold teeth by the time they left there. They carried a pair of pliers. Usually they just kick them in the teeth or bang them with their rifle butt and pull the tooth out. This guy had a whole mouthful. And they take him later. They take him down to the motor pool area and fire up the acetylene torch and dig a little. When they got enough teeth, they'd dig a little place in the ground there and melt the gold off of them and make their own little ingot, if you will. To my knowledge, no one ever got caught or got told on. But it happened. We weren't supposed to set any booby traps either, but we did. My favorite was in the sea rations. They put out a cookie and cocoa can. It had cocoa mix and cookies in it. My favorite one was that. It was just the right size. You could put a hand grenade in it. And pull the pin and drop the hand grenade down. Because we didn't have the old-fashioned hand grenades over there, the fragmentation. We had the new ones, the baseball type, which they were also fragmentation, but they had a spring that screwed down into them, and they had a notch about every inch. And they put out a lot more pieces of shrapnel. But we'd be out on patrol or something and take a break. We'd leave our trash lay around and we'd take our grenade and stick it in one of these tea ration cans and pull the pin, of course, and just set it on the ground and slip your hand out from under it real quick, and there it's sat upside down. And one problem you had when you went around on patrols is the Vietnamese would follow you around, the VC, and they'd see where you went and how long you were gone, get all this information on you, and give it to their Viet Cong friends for whatever purpose they could use it for, to ambush you later or whatever. So we'd set these booby traps, which the Geneva Convention says don't do it. But we did. That's all. I mean, they set booby traps everywhere. They didn't give a hoot about the Geneva Convention and what it said. They probably couldn't read it if they saw it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But they were. We'd do this. We were tracks laying around, and one of them had a hand grenade in it. We'd get down the trail about 10 minutes, and we'd hear a whoosh.
Yeah.
Grenade went off. The guy lifts the can up. He's got 4 seconds to run like hell or get blowed up. And I'm sure he had a hell of a look on his face when he died. But we'd do this. We'd set these. Worked every time I know. I never did. They always went off. There wasn't anybody left to tell them what happened. But yeah, we did things like that. I had a good friend that he liked to bury hand grenades in he'd bury 4 of them. He'd tie a piece of commo wire, which is communications wire, to each safety pull ring. And he'd loosen the pins up so they come out real easy. And he, you always have a garbage dump when you're at some place for very long. And he'd bury grenades in the garbage. And when he'd get them all packed in there real tight, and then he'd fill the hole up and pull the pins with the commo wire. He'd just jerk them up out of there and get the heck out of the way in case one went off.
Yeah.
But I never knew when to go off because he packed them pretty good. And later when we left, the Vietnamese would get digging through the garbage. And of course, when they loosen the garbage up around the grenade, it goes off and bang. And
Be exciting.
Finny for the Vietnamese. I did learn to speak Vietnamese.
Did you?
Yes. I went to a
That's on your first tour?
Yeah, I was only there one tour,
Yeah.
1965 and 1966.
Yeah. You spent 4 months on this operation of...
Well, 4 to 6, yeah.
And
Uh,
then what happened?
well,
You're really just a combat infantryman, as it turns out. right?
basically, yeah, I wasn't officially one.
Still a corporal?
Yeah, I stayed at corporal the whole time.
And you're still married to this girl back in
Yeah.
Wabash? And what's she doing?
Living with her mother
Yeah.
and her dad.
Yeah. And the baby, too? Is there a baby?
Yeah,
Okay.
JC. We named him JC after his brother that died. His name was James Corbin.
Yeah.
James Corbin was named after my Uncle Jim, who's up here on the memorial, and my wife's father, whose name was Corbin Arnett.
Yeah.
In December of '65, they sent me to. I got out of there. I was there August and September and October and November. I was there 4 months. And in December, Bob Hope came for the Christmas party, but I didn't go see Bob. Instead, I went up the road. There was an orphanage up the road there, and there was a little Vietnamese girl there. I don't know her age. Very small, 7, 8 years old. Mm-hmm. That I was foster parent to. Mm-hmm. I paid, I don't know, $10, $15 a month,
Yeah.
and this supported the little girl.
Yeah.
And I did support one of the war orphan kids while I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to see her occasionally and visit with her.
Mm-hmm.
When I left Vietnam, I dropped the support program. I didn't pursue it. I did go to a Vietnamese language school, and I did learn to speak Vietnamese quite fluently. I learned it to the point that I did not have to translate in my mind. Mm-hmm. When I heard it in Vietnamese, my response was in Vietnamese. I didn't have to think about what they said, think about what I wanted to answer, and it's just like English.
Yeah.
You want to say it, it comes out.
Automatic.
Automatic.
Yeah.
Okay, I learned to speak Vietnamese this fluently. In fact, I got to a point where I spoke more Vietnamese in a day's time than I did English.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that amazed me was they have a North Vietnam and they have a South Vietnam. And they have an accent just like we do. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can tell somebody from North Vietnam just as easy as you can tell someone from Georgia or Tennessee. They have an accent. It's a horrible accent. And it amazed me. Mm-hmm. Because before they just, that's the way they sounded.
Yeah. Why did the Army send you to language school?
I wanted to go. I asked to go.
Yeah.
I figured some sucker standing behind me saying, I think I want to shoot that big dude, and I wanted to know about it.
Yeah. Where did you have to go to language school?
I did in Vietnam.
And what part? To Saigon or?
No, right there at the camp.
Right at the camp.
Yeah. They had Vietnamese come in, those that wanted at the battalion camp.
Yeah.
Those that wanted to, battalion was there with them.
Yeah.
Those that wanted to could go and learn. Everyone said what a hard language Vietnamese was to learn, but to me it was quite easy.
Yeah.
I had no problem with it at all. And in fact, it used to amaze the Vietnamese that I could speak their language. In fact, they'd even call other Vietnamese over there to say, look here, this guy can speak Vietnamese. Yeah. I never was officially an interpreter, or I never worked in that capacity, except for the guys around the camp. They wanted, they had a problem with the Vietnamese. They wanted to straighten out or talk to them. Yeah. On the work program, I got where I really talked to a lot of Vietnamese. Mm-hmm. Bunch.
And you didn't learn to write it or read it or anything?
No. I did not learn to write it. I did not learn to read it. I learned to speak it, of which I have lost most of it. So it's been a long time. It'd probably come back if I worked with it But living there and working with the people, and I spoke at every opportunity I had. I didn't miss an opportunity to speak Vietnamese because I wanted to get fluent in it. And I did progress to the point where it was automatic with no translation in my mind. Translation.
Yeah.
I think Bob Hope came to the Christmas party sometime in December, and right after that they sent me to Saigon.
This is still in 65, is it?
65.
Yeah. Okay.
Very late 65.
Okay.
And maybe the 1st of January 66.
Okay.
They picked me for, I don't know how I got lucky, but they picked me. One man from each company was sent to Saigon. And there were 5 companies, A, B, C, D, and headquarters. And they sent one man from each company to Saigon. And we were there at Tonsanute Air Force Base. This was months 5 and 6 in Vietnam. And I was only supposed to go for 30 days. And they sent me there to guard a general, General Pluger, at his villa. Well, I thought that sounded pretty neat. You know, I'm going to get a chair to sit in and a table to sit at. And I did. I finally got to sit at a chair. Oh, I have to tell you this other little funny story from Vietnam. We were there 4 months. You know, it was right before Christmas, and they let us go to Saigon for 4 hours to the BX. They had a big BX there, Cholon, and there was a commissary there, which is our version of Kroger's or supermarket, and they had a little snack bar there next to it. And this was all in a guarded compound. But anyway, we went to the BX and got some stuff we've been wanting for a long time. I don't know what all it was, just anything. And I went over to the commissary. I don't know why. And there was a pound of bologna. Real bologna. I couldn't believe it. So I bought that. I'd really been wanting some bologna. Yeah. I bought that pound of bologna. And I went next door to the little snack shop there. I couldn't believe all this good stuff these guys had in Saigon. We was shaving out of our helmet. We had a helmet full of water and shaving out of it. You know, that's the way we lived. Sit on the ground. Yeah. Cool your drinks with CO2. There wasn't a CO2 fire extinguisher that worked. We just stuck all of our drinks in a can and shot CO2 in there and got them cold. Drank them. Anyway, I went in the snack shop and there was now they sold bologna sandwiches in there. So I got a Coke and an American Coke. I couldn't believe that either. American Coke in a can. And I bought a bologna sandwich. And I opened up that pound package of bologna and I put it between the 2 pieces of bread, which was also the first 2 slices of bread I'd eaten in 4 months. We were eating sea rations, World War II sea rations, of which in each carton of sea rations there was 1 can of, or 1 box with beans and franks in there. We all fought over that sucker.
Bacon and cheese.
We used to open our peanut butter up and light it, and use it to heat our sea rations up with. And the peanut butter and the oil, we just light it with a match. There was matches and a little pack of 4 or 5 cigarettes in there.
4 cigarettes.
And we'd use the peanut butter to heat our sea rations up. That was first class for us. Before we figured that out, we drained gas out of a gas tank into a can of sand and light the sand. It would just burn on top. It'd filter up through the sand. We used that a lot too, but it made your can kind of black that you were cooking. But I put that whole pound of bologna between 2 slices of bread, and I was sitting there eating it. My very first table in 4 months. And I was sitting there eating that bologna sandwich. It was a couple inches thick. And everybody was going by and laughing and pointing and talking and taking pictures of me, sending them home, I guess. But I didn't care. That was my bologna sandwich, and I was sitting at my first table and chairs in 4 months. And that was really,
Tasted pretty damn good, huh?
I was high on the hog.
Yeah.
Sitting there eating that bologna sandwich, a whole stinking pound of it. It was kind of hard to get in your mouth, but I'll tell you, I got it done. So we went, anyway, that happened before I got sent to Gardner General.
Yeah.
But they sent me into Saigon, and they said, you're going to be Gardner's General. And you're going to start in 2 days, go enjoy yourself. And they said, you need new boots. My boots were originally black, and at that particular time they were raw leather. Mm-hmm. They had not received any polish. You don't polish your boots when you're in combat. Yeah. And you don't salute officers, and they'll chew your tail. Yeah. They don't want to get shot. These little things you learn over there. But, of course, by this time I spoke very good Vietnamese. I wasn't as good as I got later, but I spoke good Vietnamese. And right outside of Tan Son Nhut Air Force Base, I went to a shoe shop. And I told that guy I need a pair of boots. Now my minor shot. I had to have a pair of shine boots, and there's no way I could shine those suckers. So I went to this tailor's shoe shop, and I explained to the gentleman that I wanted a pair of boots, brand new boots, and I wanted them to look just like these. And they were the jump boots, which had the little seam across the toe. They were great for spit polishing. And I told him I wanted them made out of patent leather, and which he did. I told him I wanted the toes and the heels high gloss patent leather, and I wanted the rest of the boots low gloss. And they really look spit shine.
Yeah. All you had to do was wipe them off.
Right.
Yeah.
And I put Vaseline on them. I learned that was a good trick. Then wipe them off. But I told the gentleman I wanted the boots exactly like my old ones. I wanted no one to be able to tell the difference between GI issue boots and these. Mm-hmm. I wanted them exactly the same. I told him 20 times. And he probably took 20 measurements of my foot. And when the boots were done, they were beautiful. Mm-hmm. I got them back, I think, the next day, and they cost me the grand sum total of $5 for a pair of custom-made patent leather boots. $5. And I got looking at the boots, and I told him I wanted the same number of eyelets and the holes. I want everything exactly the same, no difference. I must have told him 20 times, and he did. They were beautiful. And I wore these when I was Gardner General, so I looked good. I got new fatigue and everything for that job. But anyway, I got the boots, and the bottoms had been half soled. I asked him why he did it. I got mad about it. Asked him why he did it. He showed me the old boots. They'd been resoled. He made them exactly the same. I had half soles on the old boots, so
half soles on the new.
I had half soles on the new ones. They were exactly the same. I couldn't argue with the man anymore. So I gave him his $5. The Vietnamese money was piastres. They called them P for short. 110 piastres was $1 American. And we also had script over there. It's all money called script. But they were always threatening to change, and all your money would be worthless. But they never changed it once while I was over there. Mm-hmm. They did later, I heard. Which left of all the Vietnamese with no money, because they always had a lot of script, which they weren't supposed to have.
What was the job and who was the general?
General Pfluger.
And what was his position?
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's a brigadier. Brigadier General Pfluger.
Yeah.
He had a villa in Saigon. And my duty, along with some others, was to guard the general's villa. And our duty assignment was, there was the 5 from our battalion and some others were in on it too. But we guarded the general 4 hours on and 24 hours off.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that hadn't sat in a chair for 4 months. This was heaven. So, like, we guarded him at noon and got off at 4 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, we were off to 4 p.m. the next day and worked and guarded him till 8 o'clock at night. And then we were off and then guarded him from 8 to midnight.
How many on duty at each time?
One.
Just one person?
One.
And if anything happened, what were you supposed to do?
Shoot.
Yeah.
Shoot.
So you were basically there by yourself.
Yeah. We were just there on the grounds.
Yeah.
Basically, they had Vietnamese guards on the gate. But we were there basically on the ground just keep the Vietnamese guards honest, I think.
The general didn't have his family really there, did he?
I never got to see the general. I never saw him once.
Never saw him.
Yeah. I never met him. But anyway, I was only supposed to be there for 30 days, and they forgot me. Typical Army, they forgot me. And I got to stay there for 60 days guarding the general.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a very tremendous break from what I've been used to. One little incident that occurred, there when I was there, I was downtown Saigon at Tudo Street, which was also called Street of Flowers. They had a lot of, like a vegetable market, but they sold flowers, and then over they had a black market where they sold everything.
Yeah.
And this Vietnamese soldier was standing there asking this woman what she wanted for this glass. And I got thinking, well, that's really great. I've been drinking out of a canteen cup for 6 months. A glass would really be super. I'd love to have a glass.
Yeah.
I hadn't drank out of a glass for 6 months. I thought, that'd really be great. So I'm listening. I'm standing there. This Vietnamese soldier asked this woman, he said, how much for the glass? She told him in 10 or 15 cents, and he got her down to a nickel for the glass. And he didn't want the glass for a nickel because it was too much.
Yes.
Which, when we went to Vietnam, a high-paid person in Vietnam made, like a skilled labor made 50, 60 cents a day. A day. A loaf of bread was a Vietnamese penny. So a nickel for a glass was a pretty high price.
Yeah.
Some old mama son. And he said, nope, that was too much money. So I asked her in English. I'd love to do this. I asked her in English. I said, how much for the glass? They all understood how much. Yeah. And she told me it would be 100p. She held up 10 fingers.
Yeah.
10 times 10. That'd be 100p. 100 piastres. Which was, 110 was $1. But before she did that, she turned around to her husband and she said, or the gentleman there, I don't know if he's her husband, she turned around to him and she said, how much should I charge this American for the glass? She asked him this in Vietnamese, totally ignorant of the fact that I understood English or Vietnamese. And he said, oh, charge him 100 piastres. So she did. She charged me 100 piastres. And there were Vietnamese sitting around they always sit on their haunches like a monkey or a baboon. I guess it was comfortable for them. But anyway, they went to work on a car engine. They'd climb up on the fender and haunch down on their hind end. But she turned around to me, and they were all smiling ear to ear. There must have been a dozen of them there. They were all smiling at me, like very friendly. To look at their faces, you would think you were the best friends.
Yes.
But she turned around, a big smile, and she said, 100 piastres. Yeah. then I told her in Vietnamese, I said, that's too much. I said, you only charge this guy a nickel. I said, you want to charge me 100 piastres? Her mouth fell open clear down to her neck. I mean, her, huh? And then everyone was laughing at her. They weren't laughing at me. I ended up, I never even bought the glass. I just walked away. But, this is another one of the incidents. There was a tragic incident that occurred there, George. One of the local Wabash men was killed. I understand he was a Sergeant Miller, and that his parents, I believe, live over on Pike Street. I'm not sure. Anyway, there was a Miller that was killed, and he was a sergeant. I was guarding General Pfluger's villa, and I was on the 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. shift. Which we did. So we stayed at Tonsonhood Air Force Base, where we slept. We slept there. I got the Wabash plane dealer when I was in Vietnam, and it came over on the boat, and I usually got there about a month or so late. And I didn't realize at the time actually who it was. But from what I could read in the Wabash plane dealer, 4 to 6 weeks late, and you know how the information gets goofed up. But the nearest I could, the Miller soldier from Wabash was killed, and it had to be him. From what I read in the paper, this had to be him. Up the street about a block, there was this cement block building. Probably wasn't a block, it's probably half a block. And a Vietnamese boy, about probably 12 or 13, but you very quickly learned over there that it doesn't matter what age they are, anyone's can kill you. And a lot of them tried. A Vietnamese boy had leaned a bicycle up against the wall. It was a bicycle bomb, that's what it actually was. Yeah. The handlebars were packed with explosives, plastic explosives probably. There was like a little light mounted on the handlebars. What they did in the light was they hid in a little battery, and the wiring that went right into the handlebars. And one of their favorite ways to set those type of bombs was with a wristwatch with a plastic face on it. And what they would do is pop out the plastic crystal and take off the minute hand and just leave the hour hand in there. And they put the crystal back, and they drill 2 little holes in it. And into each hole they were side by side, and into each hole they'd put a wire. And this would give them up to 12 hours. Well, really about 11, because they wouldn't want to get that close. But when the hour hand came back around, they would make contact between the 2 wires, causing the explosion. And they used this for a triggering device. And I will say, one of the things that amazed me the most about the Vietnamese people was their ingenuity, their ability to take nothing and make something work out of it. Yeah. It was fantastic what those people could do. I watched a man set with a Tabasco sauce bottle. He sat for 8 hours with a nail and a rock and drilled a hole through that Tabasco sauce bottle, which is very thick glass, and made himself an opium pipe out of it. Amazing what they can do with nothing. But anyway, the bomb blew. The bicycle went off. Exactly 5 o'clock in the morning. Not a minute later or a minute sooner. Right on the button. 5 o'clock it went off. And the whole sky lit up. Just blew it.
Did they pack that much in?
Oh yeah, it doesn't take that much plastic explosives to make a big bang. my understanding that the sergeant was asleep on the other side of the wall, and the explosion blew the wall in. And one of the cement blocks took his head off at the shoulders. It was just gone. His whole head was gone. They had him laid out in the dirt in front of the building. And this building, I mean, they had wire, concertina, sandbags, machine gun, bunkers, everything around this building in front. But they didn't have anything on the side because there were no windows. It was just a blank wall, and all this kid did was lean a bike up against it and walk away. If the sergeant had been sleeping down the wall a little farther,
No problem.
probably nothing. Took his head clear off.
Yeah.
He was laying out there in the dirt. They had a blanket threw over him. And I could see his sergeant stripes sticking out. And, you know, his arm was sticking out. I could see he was a sergeant. And the blanket came up to his shoulders and then it just dropped away. There was nothing there. The head was gone. They threw it over. I didn't think too much of it at the time. I mean, you see a lot of this stuff over there. It's no big deal. It's not a big deal over there. Today it would be. At the time, though, it was nothing.
How far were you from the general's house? Was from this?
Probably a half a block to a block. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to leave the villa at that
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
because I'm on guard duty there.
Uh-huh.
But I got extra alert. And when I got off at 8, we went up there.
Yeah.
And he was still laying out in the dirt at 8 o'clock. He'd been, you know, I don't know how long he'd been out there. But it was daylight by then. It was dawn in the east. And, shooting at people in Vietnam got to be like shooting at a rabbit in Indiana.
Yeah.
It was a reflex action. You didn't think about it.
Did you have any unwritten rules? In other words, anything after dark is not friends, or did that come later?
Yeah, we did. Well, yeah, we had that. If you see it, shoot it. You know.
After dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of Vietnamese. I was there probably a week, 2 weeks. I don't know. I looked out across this rubber plantation, and there was a whole bunch of dudes in black pajamas and guns running parallel to us. They were, you know, trotting across there. And I had my M14 on selective fire. I just flipped it over on full automatic. I never said a word to anybody. Yeah. I figured they hear me shooting, they'll know what's going on. And I never thought about saying anything to anybody. There they were. I'm going to shoot them. There must have been, I don't know, 30, 40. I don't know, a bunch of them. You can't miss. They was out there about 100 yards going and running.
Yeah.
And I seen they had weapons. They were black pajamas. Of course, everybody wore black pajamas over there. I just laid right down across the hood of a 3/4 ton weapons carrier. I was going to shoot him. And Sergeant Arnold, good old Sergeant Arnold, he grabbed a hold of me and said, "Don't shoot, don't shoot. They're friendlies." He said, "That's the local militia." I still don't believe it was the local militia. If the local militia wouldn't have been trying to hide from us.
Yeah.
I think Sergeant Arnold was just afraid that I'd start something and he'd have to help me finish it.
Yeah.
But he definitely would have had to help me finish it because there was a whole bunch of them. But I never worried about things like that. There they were, you know.
Are you still corporal?
Yeah, I was corporal the whole time over there. I
All
never
the
did
time
make
you were-
sergeant.
yeah.
No.
Well, what'd you do at the end of 60 days? Now you've got, what, 8 months in the country?
Yeah. No, I'm 6 months in now.
6 months in the country. Incidentally, Bill, we're not going to finish this tonight. We're coming up on the end of our second tape,
Okay.
and I think that we'll take a fresh approach to it in a week or so.
Okay, great.
Yeah, but let's continue until our tape runs out.
Okay. Yeah, I'm 6 months in, and they're going to ship me back to where I came from,
Yeah.
Benoit, or Long Benton.
Yeah.
We are running out of tape. I won't get in. I'll start back at Long Benton. But the camp had magically appeared by the time I got back there. There was tents and everything.
Yeah.
No beds, but we had tents.
Do you ever get sick or anything there? Have you, nothing has happened? Do you
I had a lot of diarrhea problems in Vietnam. I had a heck of an ear infection.
Yeah.
I had one incident occurred. They put me out guarding this rubber tree or something. I don't know why I was out there. Here comes this idiot in a 3/4 ton weapons carrier or personnel carrier to get me, and the idiot turned on his headlights, and there he just had me right in the headlights, and I'm instantly blind, and I'm a big target if somebody wants to shoot me. I gave him hell for that. But I stepped in a foxhole, and I pulled every muscle in my leg.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to see the medics, and tremendous amount of pain. I don't know what they gave me, but I floated back to the tent. There was no more pain.
Yeah.
I don't know what they gave me, but it was potent.
Yeah.
The capsule, but boy, it was potent.
You were never exposed to Agent Orange then? They didn't even start using it, did they?
Yeah, they did a lot of it in that area.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Well, you were there that early?
In 3rd and 4th Corps, yeah.
Yeah?
In fact, I'm on the Indiana list for Agent Orange.
Yeah. Have you had the test?
No.
Why not?
They never called me.
What do you mean they never called you? I thought you just go to the facility and they give it to you.
I just signed up for it.
Yeah.
And I've never heard. I've got a letter back from them. I've never been called in to be tested.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I was exposed to it
Yeah.
directly. They did a lot of that at night, flying over with the big planes, and they did a lot of it with helicopters.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We've got a little more tape than I think. Let's go continue our story. I have the 6 months and what you were going to tell me. I just noticed here, look, I've got a little more than what I thought.
Okay, great.
Okay. But we're still going to do another session because we've got a lot of other stuff I want to talk about.
When I first came back from Vietnam, I didn't want to talk about anything.
Yeah.
But when I got over it, then I could talk about the fun stuff.
Yeah. I've had, it's been 10 years, and now the guys want to talk and tell me the stories, and we can relate to one another because although it's 25 to 40 years difference in time, we had similar situations and similar experiences.
When I first came back, I had the screaming nightmares, the waking up at night, the screaming in my sleep, the sweats. It was a whole different world when I came back.
Yeah.
But I got over that in about 6 months.
When we'll get into that post-war stuff. Let's go back to the 6 months. Now we're finished with the guard and the general, and what happens?
I went back to where I came from at Long Bend.
Your battalion, yeah.
And there was a camp. I couldn't believe it. Tents, everything. They even had these mama-sons that each one had a tent, and there was 13-man squad tents, 12 or 13 actually. And they had a mama-son for each one of the tents that took care of the guys' stuff. It cost me 10 cents a day to have everything took care of for me.
That was laundry?
Yeah, everything.
Made the beds?
Yeah, straighten up.
Were there sandbags? Were they sandbagged?
Oh yeah, lots of sandbags. Mortar bunkers and machine gun emplacements. We had the whole 9 yards around the camp. Lots of concertina wire, trip flares, trip mines. The whole 9 yards. Had a mama son there. She took care of everything for the guys. She cost me $10 a day. That's great. And I did a lot of translating for her. The guys had a problem. They washed your clothes with this stinking old fish soap. And I think they washed him in the river because they didn't get all the soap out.
Yeah.
And you smelled like a fish.
Yeah.
They even had a barber come around. He'd cut your hair for you. I think it was $0.10 for a haircut and 15 cents for a shave, or vice versa. Shave and a haircut was $0.25. I only let him shave me once. Forget it. Those straight razors were horrible.
Yeah. Dull.
Dull, they drag, they pull, they cut.
Yeah.
You get a Vietnamese haircut, and they take that straight razor out, and I don't know how they do it, but they trim the hair in your nose with it, and the hair on my ears still grows today. I have to keep my ears shaved. So that sucker started shaving my ears for me, and now I got the hair on my ears grow.
Yeah.
And they shave your forehead. Oh, jeez. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But, yeah, for 10 or 15 cents, you get a heck of a haircut.
Yeah.
And they used banana oil. They didn't use shaving cream. They used banana oil on you.
Mm-hmm.
You smelled like a ripe, rotten banana for a week after you got a haircut.
Mm-hmm.
Or shave. You got a shave, you didn't smell that way with a haircut. With a shave, you did.
Yeah.
But there was the camp. I mean, they had this big latrine all set up, and they took boards, solid mahogany boards, and built a latrine out of them, and they built a stud work, and then they'd put screen wire over it to keep the flies out, and then they'd put this mahogany, like Wemba's floors over it, on like louvers, on an angle. They put a tin roof on it. They had little holes you sit at, and underneath those they took them 50-gallon drums and cut them in half. And they set the thing was open on the back, and they had a gook out there with a hook. And when the cans got pretty full, he'd pull them out back, and they put diesel fuel in them and light them.
Uh-huh.
And the can came right up against the bottom of the hole. Mm-hmm. And it was like a 1 by thickness there, 3/4 inch. I'm sitting on one of them things one day, and that sucker jerked that can out from under me. And I got raked across the coals, if you want to say.
Yeah.
I had to go out there and say a few things to him.
Yeah. He pulled the drum out while you were there.
Yeah, well, I had my rear end hanging down the hole.
Yeah.
We got that situation straightened out real quick.
Yeah.
He didn't do that twice. So that was his job, and they put diesel fuel in these cans and burn them, and everything would be gone. It'd just be an empty can. Everything burned up.
Yeah.
Which worked great. About a week before I left over there, the Viet Cong, there was some hills back of us, and laterite hills. The dirt was called laterite. We called it laterite. It's kind of red-looking soil. And they set 5 machine guns up back there behind us and literally riddled the camp. Just really poured the coals to us. This is middle of the night. And that outhouse, every bullet hit the outhouse, and mahogany boards were so hard they just ricocheted right up through the roof. It was pretty well perforated. But if you'd been sitting on the stool, you would never got hit, I don't think. It was just bulletproof outhouse.
Did they hit anybody in the camp?
Oh, some, yeah. We took our stuff over there in Connex boxes. They're about 6-8 feet square and about 6-8 feet tall, and 6-8 feet deep. They were a cube.
Yeah.
We took the doors off of those things and set them together like we wanted, and piled sandbags around them. And they made great mortar bunkers. They made great, a lot of people see a mortar go off, they think it's like in the movies, I mean, the whole building blows up. It's not really that way. They're mostly anti-personnel. But in the movies, I mean, they blow up a 10-story building with one mortar around.
Yeah. Now, were they using mortar or rocket on any of the camps?
We didn't get any rocket fire come in. We got a lot of mortar fire. In fact, I was too lazy to write my wife, so I tape recorded like we're doing here.
Yeah.
I would tape record, and I just drop it in a little plastic container like you have here, and I'd mail it to her. It's, I could sit there and talk and say what I felt, and I just mail her the tape recording. One night I was doing that, and the mortar rounds started coming in, and I just kept on talking. I mean, you didn't think too much about it. And the mortar rounds were coming in, and I just kept talking, and my wife wrote me back, what was that noise?
That brings up an interesting point. Was there any censorship on mail? Hello, Ron.
None that I'm aware of.
But no censorship of mail.
None that I'm aware of.
In World War II, everything that we wrote, of course there was no tape recording, everything we wrote had to go to the platoon officer or the company commander. It had to be approved by him. He had to read every word that you wrote and then pass it on. And I look now, I see the mail now, and they even checked up on him because the mail was opened at another spot and resealed, Army censored.
There was no censorship that I was aware of.
You could say what you damn well pleased. And,
you bet.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah.
Which I still do today.
Yeah.
But no, there was no censorship, and there was no postage. We just wrote free where the stamp goes. We wrote free.
Franking, I think they call it.
I
Franking
don't know.
privilege. Yeah, we had the same thing.
We didn't have any name for it.
Yeah.
We just did it.
Yeah.
Felt pretty neat.
Yeah, like the congressman.
Yeah, we got combat pay over there. We thought that was kind of neat, and extra money to send home.
Yeah.
Which I did send a lot of money home, and I got all the, I had a savings account and all my bills paid when I got home. I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm.
My wife worked while I was over there, and
Where did she work?
she worked at Warsaw.
Warsaw,
yeah.
That's where her folks lived.
Yeah, they lived out in the county.
Yeah. And she had the baby with her, and
Right.
you had an allotment. Did the government add to the allotment? Or?
Right.
Yeah.
So.
So, barring inflation and everything else, that she was doing okay, and you were doing okay also.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
And really, the time went pretty quick over there. I was amazed how quick it went.
Yeah.
We had a lot of bad experiences. We had a lot of good.
Yeah.
I don't like to dwell on the bad ones.
They're part of the game too.
I know, but they're the bad part.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't like, and there's a good side to everything if you want to look for it.
This time, well, Bill, it's the 21st of August, and now we're back at reviewing our situation with the Vietnam service. And do you remember where we left off?
Yeah, we were talking about the good times and the bad, and
Okay.
trying to remember the good ones.
Yes.
One incident that does come up is when I was telling you about the Connex boxes, and we used them for bunkers. We need a couple more Connex boxes, so we got a truck driver with a lowboy trailer and went down into a supply depot somewhere, and we got him to load on 2 Connex boxes. We didn't know what was in them. We were just stealing them. Or requisitioning, I guess we called it. But we took them back to camp and opened them up and seen what we had, and we had no idea. But when we opened them up, one of them was full of Baby Ruth candy bars, and the other one was full of O. Henry's, I think. O. Henry or Hershey. I think they're Hershey bars. Anyway, they were both full of candy bars, and we had candy bars for everybody forever. It was all you wanted for candy bars for a long time. But anyway, we used the Connex boxes that we requisitioned, and ate the candy bars.
Now, would you fill these with sand or dirt or what?
Fill what?
The Connex boxes.
No, we just set them there and piled sandbags around to suit ourselves.
Okay, yeah.
We didn't use them for bunkers that we fired out of because the bullets would get ricocheting around in there. They weren't very handy for that, but they were good to for protection from mortars.
What was going on in the war when this is? We're in what, 65?
Yeah.
What's going on? United States, the country is behind you, and
Not really.
not really, not in 65.
Oh, I think more in 65 than there was later. There were demonstrations starting then and stuff.
Yeah.
So I remember I wrote a poem at the time, and I sent it to my wife, and then she had it published in the Warsaw Times-Union.
You told me you were going to bring it.
I told you I was going to bring it, and I could not find it.
Do you remember it?
Just parts of it.
Go ahead. Give me parts of it.
I don't remember very much. I remember it started out as,
Well, what's the background on the poem? I mean, what do you?
I am a soldier in this Vietnam War.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was the name of it, and it started that way, and then it went on. Some people asked me what I'm fighting for, and this is what brought my memory back to that. There were small demonstrations starting that time. People asked, what the heck are we doing over there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Really, the only verse I really remember out of it was, our widows weep and our loved ones mourn. Our crosses stand proud, all weathered and worn. And of them we're proud, for they represent freedom for all, wherever we went. And that's just the only verse I remember out of it. But it was, one page deal.
Did she or you get any reaction from this?
What do you mean reaction?
Well, I mean, did the people? It was published in the Warsaw paper. Did they?
They printed it.
Yeah, but I mean, nothing
Actually, I
good or bad happened.
Actually, I tape recorded it and sent it to her, and and there was one word she couldn't quite understand,
Mm-hmm.
and she told the paper what she thought it was, and they printed that one word wrong. But no, I don't have the poem.
Yeah, but there was no reaction in Warsaw to her on this poem, or
Just a poem.
yeah, nothing ever happened then.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, what happened to your career in Vietnam then?
Oh, I forget where I was.
We were about halfway through your.
I think we went through the part where I was guarding General Pluger
Right.
for 30 days and got
Right.
left over.
That was about halfway through your career in Vietnam, right?
Well, yeah, my
Yeah.
visit there.
Yeah. Okay, your visit. Then what happened?
Oh, I was issued an M14 rifle over there, and I later acquired a grease gun.
What is a grease gun?
Oh, it was left over from World War II. It was an American grease gun. I actually invented for the tankers to use.
Mm-hmm.
45 caliber,
Right.
40 round clip.
Right.
Yeah, it's good for mowing weeds. And
Yeah.
I was doing a little convoy riding, and I thought that'd really be nice for sticking out the window. But when you pull the trigger, it just hit the top of the door, and if there's a sniper there, I'd have probably got him. But
Yeah.
I carried the M14 with a select fire, and I had the grease gun, which I acquired from a Vietnamese gentleman that tripped a flare one night and didn't go very much further. In fact, there were two of them. One got away. We never did understand how that happened. We had him in a crossfire. But we got the one, and we acquired his weapon from him, which happened to be the grease gun.
Mm-hmm.
And
He had one of our weapons.
right,
Right. He had a World War II
grease gun.
45. I know.
Fires from the open
Yeah.
blowback grease gun.
With a piece of metal for a stock.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
just a piece of trash, but
Yeah.
they were effective.
But he had one of those.
Yes, one of our American
Yeah.
grease guns. Where he got it from, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the other guy got away, and they were trying to blow up an ammo dump, and they didn't get it done. They hit the trip flare first, and we got him, one of them. And I had a 32 pistol automatic, and I kept hidden under my shirt in a little shoulder holster, and never had to use it. It was just for emergency purposes, and I never needed it, and I'm glad of it. And so I got to fire my other weapon once in a while. And
Was this ever, this is sort of strange. I mean, here's a heck of a nice kid from the Midwest, and here he's carrying a 45 automatic grease gun, and he's carrying a 32 in his shirt. And what the hell are you doing out there?
an M14 rifle.
And an M14 rifle. That you've got 3 guns. Did you ever wonder what the hell are you doing out there in Vietnam? I mean, really.
What do you mean, what was I doing out there?
I mean, what the hell are you, the nice kid with 3 different guns on you? What's going on? Are you concerned with what's going on in the world, or
No,
not really?
Not really.
You weren't? I mean, that just seemed normal?
We were lost from the world over there.
Yeah.
We were, it seemed like, yeah, I guess normal.
Yeah.
It took a couple months to adjust your thinking
Yeah.
to that environment.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, it was just a way of life. In fact, when I came back, I felt odd.
Naked, maybe?
Awkward. I walked down the street, there was something wrong. I was used to balancing an 11-pound rifle on my shoulder,
Yeah.
which I carried mine with the butt to the rear on my left shoulder with the sling over the top and the gun upside down.
Yeah.
This kept a lot of rain out.
Yeah.
An old sergeant showed me the trick.
Yeah.
And by putting your left hand on the gun and dropping your left shoulder and twisting your wrist real quickly, you could just almost instantly have the gun into firing position. So that's usually the way I carried it when I was walking, from my left shoulder with the muzzle down. And when I came back to the States, I wasn't back 30 days, and they sent me out to the firing range to qualify.
Mm-hmm.
At Fort Huachuca, Arizona. I came back, I was stationed there. And I just naturally carried a gun that way, and that's not desirable to do
That's
back
right.
in the States.
Yeah.
And I walked out started out on the firing range, and I heard somebody holler, "Hey, John Wayne." And he was talking to me.
Yeah.
From there on, my day got worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just forgot, and I was,
Yeah.
I just wasn't used to carrying a weapon like they do back in the States.
Yeah.
And, but that was one of the funny experiences ever.
But carrying 3 guns and everything else just seemed normal to you.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, usually the grease gun, I just left it on the seat of the truck there, because M14 was so long. It had a NATO round, 7.62, and it was very awkward. And when you drove, you can't get it out the window and do anything. And,
right.
the grease gun was just more or less for John Wayning it and throwing some lead and getting the heck out of the way and making somebody else duck while I did. And that's more or less what it was for.
What were these convoys? What were the... what was the mission?
I don't know.
Yeah.
They just sent us out on convoys. They had truckloads of stuff. I don't know what they were taking, probably supplies.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't convoying any bombs or anything. Oh, I did see a lot of bomb convoys.
Yeah.
Um,
From which station to which station were you going with the convoys ordinarily?
everywhere.
Yeah.
We were to Bien Cat and Long Bien Ton and Bien Hoa and just everywhere. And usually like a one-day trip, and you'd pull in for the night and come back or go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I drove a 3/4 ton weapons carrier with a fire team in the back. I'm trying to think of the word I wanted to use. group of people and a sergeant. Anyway, if the convoy got hit, it was a no-stop deal, unless you lost a truck and then blocked the road, then you have to stop. But we didn't stop for anything unless the truck got knocked out. But if you were laying in the road, we'd go right over the top of you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just forget it. Mm-hmm. We didn't stop. And there's a little fun story.
Go ahead, tell me the story.
Oh, this old mama son was trotting across the road, and they carried this long pole across their shoulder with a basket on each end. Mm-hmm. She didn't quite make it. I hit the back basket. I didn't hit her, and I just spun her like a top. Yeah. Some guy on a bicycle got too close one time, and there's a water can mounted on the side there, and his handlebar accidentally hit the water can. He went flying off in the ditch. Mm-hmm. But anyway, we didn't stop for anybody unless the truck got knocked out. And when we did get stopped, which didn't happen very often during the daytime, but we were supposed to all the big trucks in the convoys were supposed to go left, right, left, right, left, right to the side of the road, and this opened a lane up the center, which the weapons carriers, which I drove, which actually were our fire team carriers, 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive, canvas top, wood sideboards, seats. Ugly thing. They got one down here at City Barn now. They're going to use it for a snowplow this year. Ugly but effective vehicle. Anyway, the weapons carriers went up the center, mm-hmm. and depending on which side the fire was being coming in from, you'd stop. You'd have a vehicle on your left or your right that you could stop behind and unload the troops and get up to where the activity was at that time. And it was very effective for. They had every so often in the convoy they'd have one of these weapons carriers, and you could all go zooming up through the middle and get quite a few guys up there in a hurry that way, mm-hmm. to return fire and stuff. I did that for a while. General Pluger, I guarded him for 2 months. That was very nice duty. In fact, it spoiled me kind of. By the time I got done guarding General Pluger and got back to base camp, it was very nice back there then. We had a squad tent set up with dirt floors, and there were 13 men in a squad tent, and I think 12 or 13. We had 13. I think they're designed for 12. But we even had an old mama saw in there to take care of our stuff for us.
Do you have a sandbag?
Oh yeah, it was a sandbag arrangement.
Yeah.
We each paid her 10 cents a day to take care of our stuff. Mm-hmm. And well, 13 guys, that's $1.30 a day. But when you consider that good pay over there was 45 cents a day, she was making big money, mm-hmm. 3 times the going rate. Skilled labor over there, we paid them 75 cents a day, and by skilled, I mean carpenters and builders and things like this. And that was the most money they'd ever seen in their life. But they could buy a loaf of bread for a penny. Piesta, they called it. But that was big money. I mean, educated school teachers and people like this only made like $500 a year.
Yeah.
So 10 cents a day doesn't seem like very much by our standards, but it was humongous big money for her. The Vietnamese used to come around and want me to buy cigarettes for them. Salem's is what they wanted, Salem cigarettes. They called them Saline. They shouldn't say Salem. They called them Saline. You buy me Saline. But it was. I'd take the money, but I would never get them cigarettes. They'd come around hooting and hollering and cussing at me and wanting their money. But didn't do them any good. They weren't supposed to have it anyway. It was the American script that they were giving me, and they weren't even supposed to have it. I didn't think of it as stealing. I just thought of it as fun. We had one Connex box left over. I don't know where it came from. And we had Vietnamese workers around the camp then, too. Oh, and in the tents, we had bunk beds. I couldn't believe it. No mattresses, but we had the bunk beds with the wire stretched across them with the little springs up and down each side. And we really thought that was great. We didn't have any mattresses, but we had the beds and the wire springs. And up off the ground, and we slept on those. There was a comet went by when I was over there. I don't know what it was. You couldn't see it from the United States. I found out later. It took a long time to go by, days and days and days. And I used to see it every night. And I saw it coming. There's a little speck in the distance coming. And when it went over, it just, just gave a gray cast to the whole sky up there. And then you could see it still coming, and then you could see it going, and then you could see it coming and going, and then you could see the tail catching up. This took several days. Every night I went out and watched it, and then eventually you could just see it disappearing into the distance.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of the comet or what it was, but it went over in 65 or 66, probably 66. But I wrote home about it and asked about it, but no one back here even knew about it.
It was only in the southern hemisphere, probably.
We had one enterprising gentleman over there. He took a brick and a wire, threw it up in a big tall tree, and made an antenna and hooked it up to his radio. And he'd lay awake all night and listen to the World Series on live. And the World Series were taped and then played the following day over the radio system on the Vietnam radio system, just as they were actually happening. This enterprising young gentleman stayed up all night and listened to the game and knew what the final score was. And we heard the game a day late. But he spent the next day before the game started going around getting bets off of everyone that would bet him. Because he knew who was going to win and by how many points. It took the guys about 3 games to catch on to the fact that he was really suckering them in. But amazingly enough, I don't know of anyone that got mad at him about it.
Yeah.
I think they were too impressed by his
Ingenuity. Yeah.
So that was the end of the betting on the games, and he got a good night's sleep after that. When we got in the tents and had the beds to sleep on, then that was the end of the sleeping two and guarding two. That was the end of that. Then they had concertina wire, triple high all around with trip wires in it, and the whole 9 yards, and bunkers all along the thing, and for people to get in, and they were all sandbags with slots, to shoot out of. And then they had a regular guard duty every night. And they had a guard roster, and you got called out for guard roster every so often. And I don't remember how many men they had on guard, 40 or 50 every night. But they always had one more than they needed. And when they inspected the troops, they whoever they thought was the sharpest and the best, they pulled him out. He didn't have to actually do any guard duty. He just went to the CQ tent and sacked out for the night. I always tried for that, and I got it almost every time. My patent leather boots helped. I had those left over from my General Pluger days, and I wore them, and especially for guard duty, and they liked those. And patent leather boots in a combat zone sounds ridiculous, but I learned a trick from another one of the old sergeants. I always talked to the old sergeants because they knew all the ropes. And they showed me a trick on inspection arms. When you're standing there with your weapon at inspection arms, you're standing like, with the barrel raised higher than the butt in front of you. And they taught me this little trick that I loved it. But you're not supposed to do anything until the man jerks the weapon out of your hand.
Right.
And you're not supposed to be hanging on to it when he does.
Right.
And being in the military, you're familiar with all that. And what this old sergeant taught me was that when I let go of the weapon, to be sure I had my two thumbs on top. And when I jerked my hands off, flipped my thumbs in a downward motion. And instead of the rifle just being let go of, I literally, it's just like throwing it on the ground. Your thumbs go down, and it happens so fast I can't see it. But it just amazed those people. Some of them caught it down around their knees, and once in a while it would hit the ground, and they were just dumbfounded with how that weapon, they couldn't understand how I did it. And that's probably one of the reasons I got picked so often on that.
Does this seem unusual? Here we are in the middle of a war, and then we're selecting people for the Guard, and we're going through the manual of arms and patent leather boots. Does this seem unusual?
I was the only one there with patent leather boots.
Yeah. But I mean, does it seem unusual that we're going for rifle inspection and all this at the same time?
No,
Not
it
unusual.
just seemed military Mickey Mouse to me,
Right in the middle of the war.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's unusual, isn't it?
We first went over there, they told us don't shoot unless you're shot at. Bull. Don't set booby traps unless, there wasn't no unless to it, just don't do it.
Yeah.
But that was very one-sided, so we compensated for that.
Were you getting mortared or
Not very
rockets
often
or
then, not
nothing?
very often.
No incoming at all?
Not very often,
Yeah.
just very rare.
Yeah.
Very boring, really.
Yeah.
About a week before I left, they come in on behind us and set up all these machine guns and shot the hell out of us. And the night before I left, they poisoned our water. We had A, B, C, and D company and headquarters. Every night they checked a different water supply. There was a river a mile or so down the road, and the companies used to go down there with a truck every day with a water trailer on behind, and they processed water out of the river and purified it and brought it and put it into these.
Lister bags?
No, they were into these trailers, and we just literally went over to the trailer and got our water out of it. And how it got poisoned, nobody knows, but it did. Luckily, they checked ours that night. After that,
They weren't using Lister bags or anything in those days, and
not by then.
yeah.
Not after we got our big camp set up.
Yeah.
And we really didn't use them much earlier. 'Cause we just went over and got our water out of the trailer.
Trailer, right straight from the trailer.
Yeah, just turned the valve on, just gravity fed. And one thing I really wanted over there more than anything was a glass of cold milk with ice in it.
They had no reconstituted milk or anything?
Yeah.
Powdered milk?
They had powdered, but then they had something that came in a little can about the size of a 4-ounce juice can or something. It tasted awful.
Yeah.
We used to have garbage cans. We'd fill them up with water and throw these cans of milk in there trying to cool them down.
Mm-hmm.
When I came back from Saigon, they had chow halls set up and everything. We had chow halls then.
Yeah.
First 6 months we were sea rations, and just like in the movies. We used to open up our peanut butter and light it. The peanut butter oil is really great for heating sea rations.
Mm-hmm.
Before we figured that trick out, we used to take and drain gas out of a can and into a sea ration can full of sand. We put some gas in there, and it would wick up through the sand and just burn on top.
Mm-hmm.
But it would get your sea ration can pretty black. It's a very dirty way of doing it. Peanut butter worked great. Everybody used to fight over the beans and franks. Who was going to get it? So nobody liked the lima beans and ham. Yeah.
Did you guys ever get off base at all, or did you get into town, or?
Well, you know, like I told you before, I was there 4 months before I ever got to go anywhere,
Right.
even sit in a chair.
Right.
After I came back from Saigon, that was really PUD duty there.
That's guarding the general.
Right. 4 hours on and 24 off. That was really
Right.
PUD. I commented something about the Miller boy from Wabash that got killed there.
Mm-hmm.
And I never did go see his parents when I came back.
Mm-hmm.
They were, I couldn't see reopening an old wound, and I just never went to see him. But I'm pretty sure it was him. But anyway, I got back from the PUD duty at Saigon, and then we had the chow halls. I lost my line of thought, George.
No, we were just talking about the lifestyle that you had from sea
Oh.
rations to eating in the chow. And,
After that, you know, the area around camp was really pretty darn secure for by Vietnam standards. There were never any front lines in Vietnam. There were never any safe areas. But by Vietnam standards, it was pretty good. And if we wanted to hop in the Lambretta, which is a Vietnamese version of the taxi, little three-wheeled motor scooter with a seat in the back.
Yeah.
But if we wanted to hop in that and go over to Benoit Air Base to the BX, and we had the time off, we could do it, or go down to the village and get some beer or some company from the young ladies. If you want to know what was going on, just go down to the bar and ask some of the girls down there. They knew what was going on.
what the war was.
If you want to know if you were going to ship out next week, just go down and talk to them. They'd tell you. Their grapevine was fantastic.
I don't think that many people really understood what went on in Vietnam off base. You know, I mean, we've seen very few pictures of the bars and so forth and everything else, but obviously there was a lot of activity that went on off the base. And how safe did you guys feel?
Fairly.
Fairly safe?
Yeah. Not at first, you know.
Yeah.
But after we'd been in that area and had it pretty darn well secured there, and they were starting to have a tremendous buildup in that area.
Or what was the name of the village or the town that you were closest to?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah. Was it large or small, or?
Our main camp area ended up at Long Bien Ton.
Yeah.
Benoit was Benoit Air Base and a village out of it.
Yeah.
We was in the Delta areas in rice paddies and all that kind of stuff.
We're talking about life off of the base.
Right.
In Vietnam.
The-
Were the bars and the facilities and everything else, were they modern, air conditioned, or were they just dumps with dirt floors, or in
They
straw
were
huts?
semi-modern, those I was familiar with.
Oh.
I don't remember any of them being air conditioned. There was electricity, and
Obviously.
there was a bar and stools and booze
Yeah.
and music. And
Cold beer.
I didn't drink beer. I drank Coke,
Yeah.
but it was cold.
Cold. Yeah.
They had ice where they iced it down, and I don't think they had any refrigeration.
Yeah.
There were about 3 hordes for every guy, and I mean, you just sit down on the stool and they just flock around you, and wanting you to buy them a drink, which we nicknamed Saigon tea. It cost 160 piastres for a Saigon tea, and it was actually a shot glass with tea in it, literally.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to pretend it was whiskey and they were getting drunk, but they weren't.
What did the women look like? Were they
Beautiful,
beautiful?
beautiful.
Eurasians, or were they Vietnamese? Were they part Asian, part European, or
They had a lot of French in them.
French in them?
They
Good
were
looking?
beautiful, black hair and beautiful. It was not unusual to see a lady carrying her hair to keep it from dragging on the ground. Or they would fold it up and put it on their bicycle seat to keep it out of the spokes.
Mm-hmm.
Over here, having a suntan is a status symbol. Over there, not having a suntan was a status symbol. Because the poor had to get out in the sun and work, and they got tanned. And the rich didn't have to. And therefore, not having a suntan, being light-skinned, was a status symbol.
They all spoke English?
No.
None of them?
They spoke baby talk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly how to phrase that. They had these, they were always, the young boys were always trying to get you to go home and spend the night with their mother or a short period of time. They called them cherry girls.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a wristwatch on your wrist with an expansion band, they just zip it off and they'd be gone. They'd steal them. You need at least a half a block head start to catch one. They're really fast.
Mm-hmm.
They'd go by on these little mopeds, one riding on the back, and they'd jerk them off your arm if you wasn't watching.
Mm-hmm.
For English, just bar talk, you know. I love you too much, and that kind of stuff. But the girls would really just swarm around when the GI sit down. Most of them were available for a price. One thing I do remember about Vietnam is I never met one person over there, Vietnamese, that did not try to harm me in some way, either by trying to kill me, or by trying to cheat me out of something, or to rob me, or do me bad or harm in some way. I never met one that I would consider a friend in the whole time I was there.
Oh, really?
That's true.
Yeah.
And I spoke the language quite fluently.
Yeah, that's right. We went into this before.
And
yeah.
I did not meet one that I would ever even consider a friend.
Yeah. That you would trust.
Oh, I wouldn't trust any other.
Now this goes from the civilian population to the military to on down to the prostitutes and everything else.
Oh yeah, the police were the worst of all.
And the police were worst of all.
Oh yeah, we called them white mice.
Yeah.
They had their little white uniforms, and they were the worst of all.
Yeah.
They would shake down the prostitutes and for money and whatever. They left the GIs alone. I gotta give them that.
Well, they're probably afraid of them.
Probably.
Yeah.
I developed a bad habit there at the main camp when we got back to it of kicking the crap out of Vietnamese.
Mm-hmm.
I was bored.
Yes.
And I was used to all this excitement. And then all of a sudden it was very tame compared to what I'd been used to. And I developed a habit of, we had these workers around camp. And I'd pick out 5 or 6 of the men and tell them I wanted to fight with them, just for the fun of it. And they thought that was great, 5 or 6 of them against me. But I'm pretty big, and they're not that big.
Yeah.
And after I threw them around and banged their head together a while, and then after, I did this 2, 3, 4 times a day, just for fun.
Yeah.
And actually, it got where they didn't want to do that anymore. And I realized, hey, I'm going home here in 2 or 3 months, and I got to quit doing this because I can't do it when I get back to the States. It's Trouble City, and it kind of got to be a habit. It was fun.
Yeah.
We had this leftover Connex box that these Vietnamese would go take a nap in during their lunch breaks.
Mm-hmm.
We had them around there for cleaning up and sandbag duty and things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Workers. And they'd go half a dozen and go get in this Connex box we had left over. And it had both doors off naturally. And all steel. And it was just like a bell. And there was a big rock there, about 20 pounds. The Connex box and the rock both sat on top of this little hill, probably 20, 30 feet to the bottom. And every day I'd go up there and I'd catch them sleeping in that box. Every day I'd pick up that 20, 30 pound rock and I'd throw it and I'd wham, bam it off the side. And that sucker would vibrate and ring. Half a dozen gooks would come out there like a swarm of wasps or hornets, madder than a wet hen. I'd put the rock back right where I picked it up. I did this every day. Every day, without fail. And not one of them was smart enough to roll that rock down the hill where I couldn't pick it up
So you
anymore.
couldn't get it anymore, yeah.
Every day I left it lay right
Yeah.
there, and
Yeah.
every day it'd be there. I'd do it again. I kept waiting for one of them to be smart enough just to push the rock over the hill or get rid of the rock.
Yeah.
If they got rid of the rock, I had nothing to do it with. But
Not too swift, huh?
they never were able to figure it out. If they got rid of the rock, they get rid of the problem. So I had my fun there. But we had a thing called whole baggage. It was a wood box about 10 inches deep and a couple feet square, and about a month before you went home, you put everything in here that you wanted to send home. A month or 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks. Anyway, right before you were ready to
This
come
would be
home.
about the size of a grenade box or an ammo carrier or something like that, or foot locker or what?
That was a wood box.
Yeah, about the size of a foot locker or smaller.
It was about 10 inches deep,
10 inches deep.
and about 2 feet square.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Not very big, really.
No.
No.
I had some souvenirs from Vietnam I put in there, and I was M60 machine gunner for a while over there, and I had a couple belts of spent ammo I put back together and things like this, and flash guard off my flash suppressor, I guess, off my grease gun. I wanted to bring my grease gun.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring it home for a souvenir. Really been great. But I was afraid to put it in the box and get caught and have to go through the hassle. I maybe get delayed going home.
Mm-hmm. That's where they got you.
Yeah. And the way it turned out, when I took my whole baggage to Saigon, to the Lackland Air Force Base, to ship home ahead of me, they had the wood lids for these boxes, and they were made up prior to your getting them, and you didn't have to make them yourself. They checked the guy in front of me, and he had a pistol. And they skipped me, and they checked the guy behind me. They were just checking every other guy.
So you would have been safe.
Sure. Well, I could have had 20 grease guns in there, and I'd been pretty full, whole baggage. But, yeah, they never checked me. So I sold it to one of the guys before I left for $20. If you were to buy one today on the market, they would be about $250, $300. And they were stamped out by the thousands by the American government in World War II. But anyway, they were checking everybody, but they skipped me. Jeez.
So you're sitting there with all your junk, huh?
Yeah, I considered deactivating the weapon and taking the lead out of one of the bullets and drive it down the barrel so it looked like it was plugged and this kind of stuff. And I said, the heck with it, it's not worth the hassle. Just coming back to the States was a real shocker to the system.
Mm-hmm.
One day we were there.
To go back a little bit, you're still on this area. You're still in this reserve area or the engineer.
Base camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nothing's happening, and then.
Oh, we worked out there once
Yeah,
in a
but
while.
I mean,
yeah.
but your 12 months are up, and
Yeah.
you're ready to go home.
Right. And I'd
Yeah.
taken my whole baggage to Saigon a couple weeks before,
Good, good.
and now I'm also driving this 3/4 ton still.
Right.
And part of my job then was just haul guys into Saigon and dump them off at the airport and come on back,
Yeah.
which we always rode back with a shotgun.
Yeah. But really no danger, and things are, as far as you're concerned, everything's looking pretty good, right?
There's always danger in Vietnam.
Yeah, understandably. Yeah.
Uh,
If not there, at least in the bar at night.
I never went down to the bars at night. In fact, I think everybody had to be back before dark.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were. I used to take guys into Tonsanute and drop them off occasionally, and turn around and come back. About 14 miles, I think. I don't know. But I always had a shotgunner. I called him a shotgun. A guy rode with me with a weapon, you know. And I drove, and we had our weapons on the seat. And we really got into some bad traffic in Saigon one time, and we're heading back out. They had cement telephone posts over there. They didn't have wood ones like they do here because they brought out. I don't know why I threw that in. Anyway, we were going down the road, and we were in this traffic, and we were inching along. And they use these little Renaults for taxis over there. It looks like a Volkswagen Bug with their Renault, and they're a thrill to ride in. They always want to take you the long way.
Yeah.
Charge you 10 times.
Get their money, yeah.
Charge you 10 times what they would anyone else. Take you twice as far. But this taxi driver was trying to pass us on the right, and I'm driving. He's trying to crowd in between us and this cement telephone pole coming up. Or he's riding out on the dirt. That's probably where I got the pole, because my mind went ahead to it. He's trying to crowd in between us and this cement post. I'm damned if he's going to do it.
Yeah.
But he's got to do it or stop. And I'm not going to let him in. And my buddy's leaning out the window, beating on the top of the Renault with his rifle butt, just just pounding the top of that car in with his rifle. And he didn't get in front of me. In fact, he really had a dumbass attack, screaming and hollering and carrying on. And, I got by the pole, and then the traffic started moving forward, and he's still back there having a fit. And I guess he's looking at the top of his car all beat in.
And he hadn't gone anyplace.
No, we really pounded it.
Yeah.
Just two of us in there. But anyway, we pounded the top of his car in real good for him. And I hadn't gone another 100 feet, and there stood 3 officers, American officers. And they'd witnessed the whole thing. And they were just grinning from ear to ear. I thought, I first seen them, I thought, oh boy, I'm in trouble now. But they were just grinning from ear to ear. They thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
So we just grinned back at them when we went by. But we didn't salute them. You don't salute officers in combat zone. They get very upset.
If you do. Okay, we're getting ready to go home, and we've got our box packed, and
I shipped it in. And then all of a sudden one day it's time for somebody to drive me to Saigon.
right.
And we didn't all leave at once. It was just this one, that one, another one, 2 or 3 at a time. And we all went over there together, but we all came back different. Probably over a 2-week period. As it worked out for me, I was back 1 year to the day, right on the button. No more, no less.
You flew out of
Flew out of Tonsanute Air Force Base.
True.
Got on the plane, and when a jet left Tonsanute, it was full throttle and full flaps. They had a nasty habit of shooting at the planes down at the end of the runway, the Vietnamese, Viet Cong, BC, whatever. So, like I say, there was nowhere was safe in Vietnam. But when the pilots left, it was full throttle, full flaps, get her off the ground quick as you can, and as much altitude as quick as you can. We took off in that fashion, which is a little different.
Yeah.
No incidents at all, no problems. We flew to Okinawa. We flew to Okinawa.
Civilian aircraft or
Civilian.
military? Yeah.
We flew to Okinawa and refueled, and then we flew to Hawaii and refueled, and we flew to Travis Air Force Base, California, and that's where I was deplaned.
What was the feeling on the plane by this time? Was euphoria? Were you drinking, or what was going on?
Just quiet.
Yeah. Everybody's glad to get out of there.
There was a little hooting and hollering when we took off, but after that it was just, I don't know, anticlimactic or something. It's like an 18-hour flight, and by the time we got back, it was, here we are, you know. And I did not tell any of my family that I was coming back.
No. And you're back in Travis now, and then what happens?
I used to be stationed at Travis when I was in the Air Force, and they're farting my way around the base a little bit, so it was not unfamiliar to me.
Yeah.
But the plane landed, I got off, I walked in the terminal, caught a bus to San Francisco. It was just like I walked around the block, you know. It was one day I'm worried about getting shot and poisoned, and the night before, you know, they tried to poison me, and now here I am, just Travis airplane camp. Just like the war never existed. It did. It was really a shock to your system to come back. I mean, one day it's one lifestyle, and you hop on a plane and you get off, and it's just unbelievable, the difference. When I was in Vietnam, and I went to Japan on R&R, when I stepped off of the plane in Tokyo, or I guess wherever it was near Tokyo. Anyway, when I stepped off the plane in Japan, it was just like someone had taken 100 pounds of weight off my back. Just, relief. But when I flew home and got off, the feeling wasn't there. It just, here I am, you know. I told my wife that the 32 days going over didn't count towards my time there, so she wasn't expecting me for another month. And it really surprised her when I got home. And I probably surprised everybody. I'd like to do that. That dream coming.
I got it, isn't it?
There's no real way I can describe how I felt when I got back. I was relieved and I was happy, but it was just, there was really no emotion there.
Let down? You hadn't accomplished anything? Or?
Well, I don't know how to explain it to you. When we got on the ship and left, there was a band playing and a hooting and a hollering, and the flags were waving, and it was really exciting. But then it's like I'm back, and everybody, so what, you know? I don't know, maybe I expected something when I came back, someone to greet me. But it was like I'd never left, like I'd never been away. And I took a bus to San Francisco, and I went out to the airport, and I had a 4-hour layover. Caught the bus right away. San Francisco was like 30 miles away, so I didn't take that long to get there. And I spent 4 hours at the airport, and
Didn't drink milk or eat a hamburger?
yeah, that's the first thing I had was a glass of milk with ice. And then I wanted a cheeseburger, and then I wanted this, and I wanted that. I was getting full, and I kept having all these things I wanted to try and eat, and so I just got where I just take a bite of them. I think they thought I was crazy in there. I told them I just got back from Vietnam. I said, this is all the things I've been wanting to eat. I don't think they really believed me.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, big deal, you know.
Yeah.
They still looked at me like I was crazy. But anyway, that glass of milk was fantastic. I loved it. And I still prefer milk with a little dab of ice in it today. Flew home. I flew to Indianapolis. I got off the plane and I went into the terminal building and got my luggage. I went outside and I told the taxi driver to take me to 38th and Meridian, which I happen to know where that was. It's Highway 31, which takes you north to Kokomo in Peru. But I told him to take me to 38th and Meridian because he'd think I was a local boy and he wouldn't, take you the long way and run the meter up. So he took me over to 38th and Meridian, and I got out and hitchhiked home.
What time of year is it now?
August 29th.
Okay.
I went over August the 28th, and I got back August the 28th. And I flew in, I got back the 29th August, back to Indiana, 1966.
29 years ago, almost.
Just about.
Yeah, that's hard to
Almost
believe,
to the day. This is
29 years ago.
What's the day? The
21st.
21st,
Yeah.
yeah. Like 8 days to be in
Yeah.
29.
Yeah.
Well, don't talk like that. Too many
29.
years.
No, go ahead.
Not 29 years.
60,
6.
76.
19 years.
19 years ago. Okay.
That sounds
Yeah.
a little better.
Better. My mathematics are bad.
That'd be 20 years. 66. That's 85. Yeah, 19
19
years.
years.
Okay, 19 years ago.
Right. And you
This next
hitchhiked
week.
north?
I
No problems?
hitchhiked home.
No problems.
No problems.
Your wife is living in Warsaw.
Right.
No.
I came in on 24 to Wabash,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad lived out there at Higley Curve.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got dropped off there, and I walked up the drive, and they lived up the long lane there to the south on up on the hill. And a bunch of willow trees there. Anyway, I walked up the lane, and Dad was out back of the house, squatted down on the ground doing something. And I walked up to him, just stood there. I wasn't 2 feet away. He never knew I was there. I just stood there until he happened to look up, and then he saw me. He was very glad to see me and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I had him call my wife.
Yeah.
She's my ex-wife now. We ended up getting divorced.
Yeah.
I had my dad call my wife and see if she could come down for a little bit. It was a Sunday afternoon, and see if she could come down for a while and visit. What I wanted to do was just be there when she got there and surprise her. And, so they called up there and asked her, and she said, well, no, she wasn't able to come down there because, she was busy there at the house. So, long story short, they said fine, and a little bit later they drove me up there to Claypool, out in the county, south of Warsaw, east of Claypool. Anyway, they drove me out to her folks' place. I could see him looking out the windows when we pulled up the drive, and I was in uniform and summer khakis. I see different people looking out the window, and I tried to figure out who that car was. I couldn't figure out who it was. I just had my dad drive me up there because our car was there, and I'd have transportation when I got there. I didn't want to just take his car and go up, and then I have to bring it back. So I had him drive me up. And as soon as I got out of the car, they knew who it was. And they all come running out, and a lot of hugging and crying, and everybody was happy. And I was home.
That's where she was living then, at Claypool?
No, out in the county, Kosciuszko County.
She wasn't living in Warsaw then?
No, she lived out in the county, south of Warsaw and east of Claypool. I don't know, 3 or 4 miles.
The baby had died, is that correct? previous to you leaving even. And was buried.
That was 1962. The baby
And
died.
the baby died and was buried in Warsaw. And
Right.
you and you didn't have any other children.
Yeah.
Before you left?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you had another one before you
Yeah,
left?
JC.
Yeah, that's right. Who was just here. Yeah.
Uh,
He would have been, what, 2 or 3 by this time?
JC was born November the 6th, 1963.
Yeah. And you're home now in 60.
So he was a year and a half old when I left.
Yeah.
All right. 62, Jimmy was born and died. And the following October, 63, he was killed. November.
Okay.
November.
Now, do you still have time to serve?
Yeah, I've got a year and a half or so to go.
And what happens?
We stayed around there for about a week. I had 30 days to get to Arizona, Fort Huachuca, Arizona. We stayed around there about a week, and we stayed at her folks. But I kept waking everybody up because I'd wake up at night with nightmares. I'd be screaming and hollering and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand it because I never did it in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be dreaming about it and stuff, I guess, and I'd wake up the whole household with my hollering. And at night, I'd wake up hollering, reliving things that had happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
So we only stayed there about a week, and I was disrupting everything at night. It was embarrassing to me. I don't know why I did it, because I'd never done it before. I used to wake up in Vietnam at night, and I'd be laying there, on my 2-hour sleeping tour, and I don't know if I heard something I didn't like or what, but I wouldn't move a muscle. I just opened my eyes, look and listen. I just close them and go back to sleep. It's just so natural to do it. They just pop open. I was wide awake. It's just like, and everything was okay, and I just closed my eyes and back to sleep. Just gone. I never did that before I went to Vietnam, and I never did it after since I got back. I just did it over there. And I think it was just part of the way of life over there.
Mm-hmm.
But I was disrupting the household out there. I'd get screaming and hollering at night, and I still don't know why I ever did it. I didn't do it on purpose, but we left. We packed up, and we left, and we moved to Sierra Vista, Arizona, Fort Huachuca. We took about a week driving out, and, no hurry. I still had 2 weeks when we got there, and then I just spent a couple weeks lollygagging around and relaxing. I probably had the sleep problems for about 6 months after I got back. But I got rid of my Vietnam experience, any of the bad stuff, just by thinking about the good. I had a lot of bad experiences over there, but I had a lot of good ones. And it's, I think a lot of the problems that the Vietnam veterans have today are the fact that they dwell on the bad.
Yeah.
Every one of them had a good experience for every bad one you had.
Or a funny one.
Right.
Yeah. What was, I've never asked this of any other persons that I've talked to about this, and you can edit, correct this and everything else when you get the type.
Oh, I don't want to edit
Yeah.
that.
No, you will.
Oh,
I think
okay.
you should.
Okay.
Add to it, if nothing else.
All right.
What was the relationship with your wife? Now, you've been gone for a year, and does everything just, hey, we've got an 18-month-old, he's 24, 25 months old by this time, 28 months old?
Yeah.
We were talking, when the tape interrupted us here, we were talking about the relationship with your wife and your child and everything else, and everything is normal. Everything just goes on. She's happy to see you, and you're happy to see her, and nothing has happened.
It was just like I never left. It's just normal, normal.
You pick up right where you left off.
Just seemed like it.
And she's happy, and she has the money that you saved?
Yeah, she'd saved some money, and we had all of her bills paid off, and the car was paid for, and we had cash in the bank.
Great.
And
you moved to Arizona and spent 2
Yeah.
weeks there? And then report back for active duty?
right, I reported back for active duty. I also quit smoking when I was in Vietnam. I don't know if I said that earlier. We used to sneak cigarettes under a poncho, and
Yeah.
you better not get caught smoking at night, or they're going to throw a rope at you and hang you with it.
Right.
But I got tired of sneaking cigarettes under my poncho. I'm sitting there on we still in foxholes then. I'm sitting there with my feet hanging down in my foxhole, and we always set up on top because there's usually about 6 inches of mud and 6 inches of water in the bottom because it's rained about every day over there. But I'm sitting there, and I said, "Well, the heck with it. I'm not going to do this. I want to smoke my cigarette and enjoy it." So I did. I was sitting there puffing on my cigarette. About the second or third puff, I heard this bullet go whining by my head. And then I heard the gun go off behind it. There was a sniper shooting at me. I put the cigarette out. And I quit smoking right then. I decided, see, we could smoke all we wanted to in the daytime, in most circumstances. Unless we was in an ambush position or something. But general circumstances, any time in the day you want to smoke, you could, but at night you weren't allowed to smoke, and we used to sneak smokes. You know, GI, he'll get around it some way.
That's right.
But we were doing it under a poncho, and I said, "The heck with it, I'm smoking this cigarette." I almost got killed for a cigarette. And I decided there's no cigarette worth dying for. And I quit that night. And I quit, and then I came home, and we moved to Arizona. And I get home cooking. I wasn't eating that Army garbage anymore. I was eating good home cooking, and I just bloomed out. I really put on the weight. I shot up to 250 pounds. That was the most I'd ever weighed in my life. And, I just felt like a porker. When I came back, they gave me a Fort Huachuca. I got out of the infantry and was in the what do I want to call it? Civil service. I don't know what I want. Special services. Excuse me. Special services. They put me in. I was sergeant then, and they put me in as the NCOIC of the wood craft shop. They found out I had carpenter experience and woodworking experience, and they needed a sergeant in charge of the wood craft shop on the base there. And I was put in charge of the wood craft shop on the base. And I enjoyed that. I got to wear civvies, and I could wear Levi's and a t-shirt to work if I wanted to. This was really pud. And I went to work at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I got off at 10 o'clock at night, and I could sleep all I wanted or go hunting. I used to love to hunt before I went to Vietnam. I hunted everything. Rabbits, squirrels, whatever. I loved to hunt. But when I came back from Vietnam, I didn't want to hunt anymore. It was something gone out of it for me. I didn't want to kill anymore. And I mentioned hunting at Fort Huachuca. I used to go out and fox hunt. I had a game call, and I'd call the fox right up. We're all, but I never would shoot one. I just called them up there. It was fun. Go up in the canyons and set up on these ledges in the bushes. And I was doing that one day, and something coughed in the bushes behind me. It sounded just like a mountain lion does when you hear them in the movies. I don't know what it was, so I'll tell you what.
You weren't sticking around to find out.
Yeah, I was afraid to move, really, because I was afraid it'd jump me.
Yeah.
But I definitely quit the game calling and whistled a little tune and got the heck out of there. Just a week or so prior to that, a bobcat had jumped into the bushes with a guy calling up game. And he required 150 or 60 stitches, and I didn't want that. So nothing came of the incident, but that was the end of my game calling in the canyons. And then I discovered deer hunting, and I still deer hunt to today.
Yeah.
I love to deer hunt. It's very challenging.
Yeah.
They're a very intelligent animal, and I mean they've got everything going for them.
Yeah.
They know the woods, and hearing, smelling, eyesight. They got it all. They got you beat 10-1. It took me about 10 years before I got my first deer, but the challenge was there, and I loved to hunt them. And I did hunt them out in Arizona. I also hunted the wild pig out there, the javelina. They were very challenging. I never got one of those either. But it was exciting, and I enjoyed it. I had a Winchester 300 Magnum rifle. I discovered deer hunting out there, and to the day I still love deer hunting. Every deer season I wait when this season is gone. I wait for next year. But that's all I hunt anymore. I don't hunt squirrels or rabbits or birds or anything.
Yes. So you're working in the wood shop, and you're
Right.
hunting, and the marriage and everything's going on?
Great.
No problems.
No, and I had a daughter born to me out there, Michelle Lee. I wanted to name her Melody. My wife wanted to name her Michelle. My wife won.
Mm-hmm.
She had a, trying to think of the operation, where they had to open the womb.
Cesarean?
Cesarean birth with Michelle. She was in the hospital a week, something like this, 5 days. When my son JC was born in the civilians, it was they wanted like $1,700 for the birth. When they found out I didn't have insurance, they marked it about in half, which I thought was nice of them, but it also indicates how they rip off the insurance companies. But when Michelle was born, she was born on a military base in Fort Huachuca, Arizona. And I think the total hospital bill was something like $7.50. And this was for meals for my wife while she was there. So much a day for meal, like $1.25 a day, something like this. So $7.50 or something like that. I forget what it was. I wanted to name her Melody. Melanie. Anyway, my wife wanted to name her Michelle.
So
I
we
came
can
back.
see who won.
She won.
Yes.
But when we came back, I told her that I named her Melanie. Because I had to go up front and do it. I was just kidding her.
Yeah.
She, while we were spending that 2 weeks lollygagging around out there, we lived in this apartment building area, and they had a swimming pool. And my wife couldn't swim. And she got in the water and was wading around in the shallow end of the pool, and I was laying up on the cement, in the sun, and there was this god-awful splashing you ever heard in your life. And I sat up and looked, and there she stood in waist-deep water with her face in the water. Bent over at the waist. And first I thought she was just playing around. Her arms were thrashing around, her face was in the water. And like I say, it was only up to her waist. But she was literally standing there drowning. She panicked and she couldn't get her face out of the water.
Yeah.
And she literally stood there and drowned with her both feet on the bottom. I jumped in and I jerked her face up out of the water. I got her by the hair and jerked her face up out of the water and got her out of the pool. I didn't think I was saving her life at the time. I did. I just remember being irritated because I got all wet again.
Yeah.
But, well, nothing serious happened, you know.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
safe. And shortly thereafter, a couple of weeks later, I came home from work, and my wife told me that she said, "We don't live here anymore." That she was terrified of the pool, and I liked it there, you know. I enjoyed the pool and the apartment. But she took our rent money and went down the road and rented a duplex, little house, which was much nicer. I was glad she did afterwards. I said, okay. Anyway, we moved down the road a couple blocks to this duplex. There were several of them down there, on Turner Street, I believe. But anyway, we were down there, and we lived there the rest of the time we were in Arizona. Like I said, I had a PUD job at the base there, special services, working in the woodcraft shop, really PUD. I'd work till 10 o'clock at night and come home and watch Johnny Carson and the Late Show, and I'd want to sleep till noon.
She wasn't working?
No, she didn't work then. We had a daughter, Michelle, who was born in June. And we just put our time in at the base and came and went.
But getting time to get out now?
Right, I'm getting close to go. I got 90 days to go. And I come down on levy. I'm going to Bumholder, Germany. They're putting me back in the infantry. And I'm going to Bumholder, Germany for 3 years.
If you re-up.
If I re-up.
Yeah.
I've already got 9 years in.
Yes.
If I re-up, it's going to be for 6 more.
Yeah.
Which I get re-up pay for that. But anyway, they're going to send me to Bumholder, Germany. So right away, I do like I always do. I go see these old sergeants, and talk to them who's been to Bumholder. And they all told me basically if you go to Bumholder, your mother will pray for you. And if you go to Vietnam, she'll write you. Bumholder, according to them, was up in the mountains, snow up to your knees after the winter. You live in a tent 9 months out of the year, and you do this for 3 years. And I said, boy, I don't want any of that.
No family, no dependents, or go with you? Or
Yeah, they could have went with me. I don't know where in the heck they would have been staying.
No.
Probably in Berlin or someplace. If they had sent me to Berlin or Frankfurt or something like this and left me in special services, I'd stayed in for the 20 years. So I really got spoiled there at Fort Huachuca being in special services. All the officers on base, I knew them by name. It wasn't Colonel so-and-so. It was Hi Bill, Hi Joe. It never dawned on me then to go see one of these guys. I knew everybody from the base commander down by his first name, and it never occurred to me to go say, hey, I don't want to go there. Get me a better assignment, would you? Get me canceled. It never occurred to me to do that. So anyway, I said, I'm not going because I'm getting out, which we did. We got out and we came back to Indiana. We lived in Warsaw a while. We lived in Wabash a while. We moved to Charleston, South Carolina, where I sold insurance for a while. We just couldn't seem to get settled in. I don't know. Long story short, we got divorced. And
Well, would you say that Vietnam, or you had lost these years, or what's the problem? I mean,
well, we got divorced.
as you look back now, what seems to be the problem? I mean, is it Vietnam? Is it is it the excitement back to nothing, or?
I was. I can't blame it on any of that. in all honesty, looking back, I'd have to say I was just too stupid to realize what a really fine lady I was married to. And didn't appreciate the family I had. I was just too young, dumb, and stupid to appreciate what I had. If I had to go back and all do over, I'd never got divorced.
You know, I may be one of the few people down that know all three of your wives. You know, I remember your first wife, and a lovely lady, gracious,
She's
lovely lady.
very nice gal.
Why did you get divorced then? I mean, she was dissatisfied, or you were dissatisfied, or you were both dissatisfied?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did she go on and remarry? And
Yeah, she remarried and had another daughter by her second husband.
and stayed married?
Right, and they're still married today, and we're on friendly terms.
Where they live?
They live in Claypool.
Claypool? Yeah. Back where she started.
Yeah. If I wanted to call them up and go see them and sit down and talk to them like you and I are, we can do this. There's no hostilities I'm aware of, or animosities, or whatever. And I wish everyone could be that way.
How old were you then when you got divorced?
28.
And she was?
I don't know.
Same.
Younger.
She was younger? Yeah.
Younger.
But you don't blame this on Vietnam or anything?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Just me. I'm stupid.
Yeah. Okay.
I got remarried again. It was a have-to case. I was working at Wagner's at the time, and there's about 20 guys that worked there and about 400 women, and I was trying to get to know them all I possibly could, and I was giving some very serious thought to becoming a mercenary, a soldier of fortune. I missed the excitement. I really missed it. I really missed it. I don't know how to explain it to you. Just something was not there anymore. I loved the excitement. And there were times in Vietnam that I honestly didn't think I'd see tomorrow. I really didn't think I'd ever see the sun come up. And there was times in Vietnam I was so scared I thought I was going to wet my pants.
Some did.
I didn't. They used to put us out on outposts. They give you these stupid field phones to ring in once every half an hour, but I wasn't stupid enough to do that. I just left it set and got away from it. And they were out there looking for me one night. I don't know how many there were. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. They were looking for me. And I could hear their feet sucking in the mud every time they took a step. Just suck. And I had my neck clear down into my chin, clear down into my collarbone.
Small target.
And I squatted down there, and they gave me this stupid flare can where you take the lid off and you put it on the bottom and you hit it with your hand and the flare goes up. No way was I about to do that right then. And there must have been at least a half a dozen of them or so. They walked right by me. One, you hear their feet sucking in the mud, and I just knew one of them was going to trip on me any second, or I was going to get my throat cut. I just knew it. But they missed me, and we had a guy named Odenbach out there one night. This is some of the funny things I like to remember. I survived that one, so I'm happy. I used to give you all the hand grenades and ammo you wanted and said, "We'll see you in the morning if you're still there." That's how I pepped you up. And you were by yourself out there.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't want you talking to somebody, yakking. And getting found. But anyway, we had this guy from Chicago named Odenbach. He was a short, fat guy. And one night we heard him scream out there. Just a blood-curdling scream you ever heard in your life. And we knew they'd got him. We just knew they'd got him. Come morning, here he come, here he was. We asked him what the hell happened. Why is he out there screaming like that? He'd bent over to do something and an anteater had rubbed up against the back of him.
Yeah.
And it just scared him so bad he screamed.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to him. But that's one of the little funny
Yeah.
stories I like to remember about Vietnam. I don't like to remember the bad things. I don't really like to even talk about them. We shot a guy one time so many times you couldn't even pick him up. Every time you just grab a hold of an arm or leg, it just pull off. He just shot so many times. Just kept shooting him. 50 caliber, and we just kept shooting him. And hauling bodies into the village and throwing them off the back of the deuce-and-a-half trucks. And stand on the back of the truck and pee on the pile, you know. And all the Vietnamese standing around telling you, you're number one. And,
During the daylight.
yeah, that night they'd be out there trying to shoot you. We had a load of guys on a deuce-and-a-half going to Saigon one time. There's 18 on the back, 16 on the back, and the driver and the sergeant. And these little kids used to come up there and beg gum and sea rations and anything. They just begged. Little beggar kids. They was about 12, 13 years old. 3 boys. They were up there begging, and the guys were throwing them sticks of gum and candy and whatever. Just, you know how guys will do kids. One of the kids threw a hand grenade in the back of the truck. There's a sergeant sitting off on the end. He jumped. You know how the sergeants always get the end seat.
Yeah.
So they look out the back. This sergeant jumped. And everybody else on the truck got it. But you know, miraculously, none of them got killed. It wounded every one of them, but did not kill one of them. I don't know how that ever happened. It wounded like 17 people. But this sergeant, the 3 kids took off running, and they just gone, you know.
Yeah.
And the sergeant's chasing this one, and I was going to shoot him. I mean, the sergeant was right behind him, chasing him. In fact, that's probably why he jumped off the truck and chased the kid. And I swung to get the other 2 took off kind of together, and I swung over. I was going to shoot them.
Yeah.
And there was kids and GIs from the camp on back over behind them. And if I shot the kids, I'm going to shoot right through them. You know, them 7.62s, they're going to do right through them. And like I said, I had select fire. I was going to mow them down. You don't think anything of shooting a kid over there. They'll kill you just as dead as anybody. But I was going to kill the 2 kids that were running. But I was waiting for them to clear that. There's a group of GIs over there, and I was waiting for them to clear that group. And then when they got into the clear, I was going to, where I wouldn't shoot anybody behind, I was going to mow them down. And I was waiting for them to clear. And good thinking on my part. The military GIs will tell you that. I was waiting for the kids to clear, and about that time, somebody else shot them from a Jeep-mounted machine gun. Just mowed them down. And killed them both. And I swung back around to the first kid. So them kids, they can run 90 miles an hour. They might, be gone. You might be out where I can get a shot at him. And the sergeant, I don't know his name, he had him down on the ground. He had the kid down on the ground. And I'm not even sure which one threw the grenade. They were all guilty. They were all together.
Yeah.
But by our standards. Maybe the other 2 didn't even know the third one had a grenade, but by our standards they were together, and they probably were together. But the sergeant had the little kid down on the ground stabbing him with his bayonet.
Uh-huh.
And he just kept stabbing him. He killed him.
Yeah.
And then he just, down on his knee, and he just hung his head down and his arms hanging down. And just tears running down his face. He never said a word. He just cried.
Uh-huh.
Not boo-hoo cry. He just emotion. And that's the kind of stuff I don't like to talk about. Yeah. I don't like to talk about.
Nutty stuff, really, when you come right down to it.
Yeah. They used to tie hand grenades to babies.
Yeah.
Put glass in your cokes. Put a hand grenade in a dog's mouth and wire it shut so they know the soft-hearted American's gonna. I only seen one of those. Put hand grenades down the gas tanks on the big trucks.
Mm-hmm.
But they wrap around rubber bands around them. And the gas is going to eat up the rubber band in a week or 10 days or 2 weeks, whenever. They don't care. They're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
The truck's destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in it, that's just a bonus.
Yeah.
You could be going down the road 10 miles from anybody and
All of a
truck
sudden
blow up.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we were talking about you thought maybe this time you'd like to be a mercenary, and
yeah, I was getting
the marriage
divorced.
is going down the drain.
Yeah. It was
She
gone.
she has a boy and a girl,
Yeah.
and you're getting married a second time.
I'm divorced.
Yeah. Then you come to Wabash and you're going to get married a second time.
I'm living in Wabash.
Yeah.
And
Meet this girl at Wagner's.
yeah, I met several girls at Wagner. This one here, I just happened to get her pregnant.
Yeah.
And,
Had she been married before?
No.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to get married.
Why?
She just didn't. She wanted to just give the baby away. She didn't want to get married. And I insisted that we did.
Yeah.
And 2 more years of support, and I'll be done paying for that decision.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
She's living here still.
yeah.
Never remarried.
Yeah, she remarried for about a year, and he couldn't stand her either.
Yeah. And how old's the child now?
John?
Yeah.
He's 16.
16.
16.
Okay.
But before this happened, I was divorced, and
Hell, I begin to sound like a psychiatrist here.
I was wanting to be a mercenary. I had a brother in the army in Germany.
Right.
My plans were to sell everything I owned,
Yeah.
pay my support as far ahead as I possibly could,
Right.
and go to New York and get a job on a boat and work my way to Germany on the boat where I could accumulate some more money. And I was literally just going to bum around the world until I got the right connections with somebody or whatever. If you bum around like that, pretty soon you pick up where to go. But I really give serious thought to being a mercenary. I'm glad things worked out the way they did, and I did not become one. But I really, really give it some serious thought. In fact, I was going to do it. I probably wouldn't be sitting here now if I had.
You'd be in El Salvador.
I'd probably be dead. But getting killed never bothered me, George. A lot of people are scared of dying, and I'm not. I worried about getting my arm blew off or my leg shot off, or this was, to me, was far worse than dying. You're dead is the way I look at it. I do believe in reincarnation, and a lot of people do, a lot of people don't. I happen to believe in the hereafter, and I was here before, you know.
Did you have any religious experiences in Vietnam? Or
No.
No contact with the chaplains? Or
No,
did you see any chaplains there?
no,
Nothing?
no. GIs, gooks, and bodies.
No chaplains?
I don't remember any.
Yeah.
Bob Hope came one time, but I didn't go see him. So, But I was really going to be a mercenary. I really given it some. I was going to do it. I wasn't going to give it some serious thought. I was going to do it, and then this happened. I got this young lady pregnant, and I was trying to work my way through Wagner's, if you will, and didn't make it. But that was
Stop someplace along the line.
Yeah.
So you got on the fire department April
28th,
of what year?
1969.
69.
This is now my 17th year on the fire department. Wabash Fire Department. It's been very exciting at times. The first 5 years were by far the most exciting. Running around in the trucks with the sirens going, and the little kids, they all think they're about 10 feet tall. And they just love to come see the trucks. And we run the fire service, and we run the emergency service, which is ex-mayor, and you're well aware of all this. But for the benefit of the tape, I'll go through it. The first few years were very exciting at times. But you reach a point there when I think you're saturated. The adrenaline still goes, and what have you. But I mean, you can only go to so many wrecks, and then I don't know, what's an emergency to some people is not an emergency to me. Somebody has their leg broke or their arm broke, to them it's an emergency. To me, it's just another broken bone. And we try to treat everyone with respect and do the very best we can for them. And I used to be prejudiced when I was in the military. I'm no longer prejudiced in any way, shape, or form. I do share a few ethnic jokes occasionally, but I don't do it out of any hostility or prejudice. To me, I don't care if anyone's black, white, Republican, Democrat, Catholic, Protestant. It doesn't make any difference to me. When the bell rings and the trucks roll, I don't care who it is or anything. It doesn't make any difference, and all the guys feel this way. I've delivered 2 babies. That's something that scared me worse than Vietnam, I think, was someone has to deliver a baby one of these days. And one day I went up here on Comstock Street, went rushing up to the apartment. And there sat this young lady, about 16 years old, very pregnant. And I looked at her, and she's more worried about it than I was. She's more scared than I was. And after that, I wasn't scared about having to deliver a baby anymore.
She had the baby right there?
No, I got her to the hospital just fine. But she was. I just took one look at her face, and I grinned. I sat down on the couch beside of her, and I said, "I bet I know what your problem is." It was obvious what her problem was. But after that, it didn't bother me anymore that it was going to happen. The first baby I delivered was premature. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning. It was a little boy. It was in the kitchen. When we went in the house, the mother was standing in the kitchen leaning on the table. The baby had already came out, and she was holding it between her legs, and it was dead. So the first baby I delivered was 6 months, premature, and dead. Later on, I got to deliver, a couple years later, I delivered a beautiful little baby girl. Somewhere out in the county. All I can tell you, I don't know where it was. I think it was out by Northfield, but I can't remember. She should be, I don't know, 8 or 9 by now, 10 maybe. But I delivered this beautiful little baby girl, and there was this brilliant flash of light, and I thought it was Harold Chatley's taking pictures. It wasn't. It was Grandma taking pictures.
Grandma was taking pictures.
That was the whole shebang. Grandma taking pictures of everything.
Yeah.
Cutting the cord, tying it off, the whole bit, you know. Every Grandma taking pictures. I should say tying it off and then cut the cord.
Have you seen the pictures?
No. And Mommy and Daddy and the baby all had to get on the bed, and Grandma had to take their picture together before we left. And
Well, this was planned or what?
no, it just happened.
Spontaneous?
Grandma had the camera out, and evidently Grandma had her way because she told them what to do, and everybody did it.
I'll be damned.
Uh,
How about now you're out again and free? You're remarried again now, and it's much.
I did. We got divorced, my second wife and I, which I do not harbor any guilt about that. I don't feel I was my fault. I do not want to get into the details of it, but I don't feel it was my doing.
Yeah.
And I have explained all this to my kids, how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
And my kids are getting grown up too. My son JC is in the Marines now. He's stationed at Okinawa. He just left Camp Lejeune and came here for 30 days and is now, as the 13th of August, he went to Okinawa and for a year. My daughter is Michelle, who was born in Fort Huachuca, is married to an airman in the Air Force, and they are stationed at in Hawaii, Hickam Field, and they're due to come back home in February. They're planning on making it a career. I think my son's planning on making a career in the Marines. My other son, John, is now 16. He is a student at Northfield High School. And big as an ox.
Yeah. Good.
He is a very big boy. I'm on my 17th year on the fire department. There's very little I haven't seen riding a meat truck for 17 years. I shouldn't call it the meat truck.
Yeah.
The emergency truck.
Yeah. Would you say that Vietnam has had any effect on your post?
Vietnam. Yes.
Would it?
Yeah. It took away all the ideals I had about good and bad. Over there was no such thing as good and bad. It was survive.
Yeah.
I learned how cheap, I don't know if that's a good word or not, how cheap the human life really is. I mean, people just kill you or you kill people just because they're there. You see them, you shoot them. And you really don't have any emotions about it after a while. It's just, I compare it with shooting rabbits. They jump, you shoot. You don't even think about it. The gun's up and you're feeling the jar and you're hearing the noise and it's just a reaction.
Yeah.
Vietnam did definitely have an effect on me. I never felt like I was welcomed back home. People, I didn't even like to tell people I'd been to Vietnam. Just, like I never told you. If you hadn't called me, I wouldn't have never be here.
Mm-hmm.
Like people treated you like even in '66 when I came home. People look at you like you had blood on your hands because they knew you were from Vietnam. And even that early. And it got much worse, I'm sure, later on for the guys.
Yeah.
I just never told anybody that I was over there. I should say I never volunteered the information. To talk about Vietnam, it's okay.
Yeah.
As long as I don't get into the bad stuff.
Yeah.
I get emotional about the bad stuff. It brings back too many bad memories. I like to talk about the funny things, the good things, the happy times, the crazy times, like the anteater in Odenbach, you know.
How about blacks? Were blacks pretty well integrated into the Army by this time, and what was your relationship? And what
Very
happened?
few blacks over there.
Very few.
There were some. We had one black in our tent. He was a replacement. And the tent door was always open to let the air through. And, you know, it's a tent it's a squad tent, 13 guys lived in there.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big tent. And the sides were all pulled out and kept off the ground, and the sandbags were there, of course, so you had something to get behind. But they were more or less open. But they were designed to be open and keep the rain out, which was almost daily. But the bunk right in front of the door was, nobody wanted it. And the reason they didn't want it was because the rain blew in there.
Yeah.
And you got wet. And this black guy, I don't know his name. He was a replacement. He came over.
Yeah.
I had a couple months to go. And he was, that's really great. This right in front of the door, I get all this nice breeze. Well, yeah, the nice breeze blows the rain in.
Yeah.
But he was laying there on his bunk, and he was really comfortable. He goes, "Hey, this is really great, man."
Yeah.
And I wonder why nobody wanted this bunk. I said, "Well, I just kidding him. I love to kid people and get their goat. I'd love to do that. It makes my whole day." And this guy made my day. I told him, I said, the last guy that slept there, I said, he's gone. I said, when the VC come in the tent, I said, the first bunk they come to, they cut the guy's throat. His eyes got like saucers. I mean, he jerked up and jerked. He wanted to sleep in another bunk, but nobody would do it.
Right now.
I don't think he slept for a week. And then he slept with his feet towards the door.
Yeah.
Then one day he was gone. I don't know what happened to him. He was gone.
But you never really saw many blacks in.
No, not really. There are very few I've seen. All seem to be of the opinion that, hey, this ain't my war.
Yeah.
I ain't getting shot. That was their general opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too sure some of them didn't wound themselves to go home.
To get out of there. Huh?
But they didn't want to fight the war, and they didn't want to have anything to do with combat.
Yeah.
I'm sure there were exceptions, but I didn't see any. There were 2 Puerto Ricans that came in our tent for a while. They kept to themselves, and they talked in Spanish all the time. But they were the same opinion as the blacks. They didn't want to. Blacks in the military were very nice people, as long as they were by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get a half a dozen of them together, then there was strength in numbers, I guess. Because they were totally different people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were nice. You could talk to them and friendly. But when they got around to other blacks in the service, they didn't want anybody to know that they talked to Whitey.
Yeah.
So.
How about drugs? Were drugs popular then?
Yeah,
No
they weren't
marijuana?
popular.
No cocaine?
No, there's a little marijuana. But guys were sitting at home.
Sitting at home?
You could, this one village, you could take a carton of Winston's down there,
Uh-huh.
and they would take all the tobacco out. They would open the pack, take out the tobacco, replace it with marijuana, and reseal the package. And they would do it for 10 cents a cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
Big money. $2 a pack. 20 cigarettes in a pack for $2 a pack. $20 a carton. You could get a whole carton of marijuana cigarettes. And they would look just like Winston's until someone opened the pack. And only one guy was doing it that I know of. He was from Chicago too. But he was sending these things home to his buddies.
Keeping them supplied, huh?
I don't know if he's keeping them supplied or what, but he was sending home a lot of cartons of cigarettes.
Yeah.
But no, drugs were not a problem when I was over there. Fragging, they got into that later, where they would toss a hand grenade in somebody's hooch if they didn't like him. I didn't see any of that.
Well, you were early on. When you got out, did you have any desire to join any veterans organizations?
Not really. I don't drink. Oh, I'll buy a 6-pack of beer and it'll last me all summer.
Yeah.
I don't call that drinking.
Yeah.
Might sit down with my father-in-law and have a cigarette, which we never, or a cigarette, a beer.
Mm-hmm.
But I buy a 6-pack of beer. I don't remember when I bought it. And I associate a lot of the veterans groups as clubs where you go to have a drink or play bingo and stuff like this.
Yeah.
I do belong to the American Legion. I belong to the VFW, and have for quite a few years. Which my father-in-law belongs to the VFW and the American Legion, which we didn't get into. We mentioned my first 2 wives, but we never mentioned my third wife, Mary. Her father was Ike Kendall. He ran the store at Rich Valley. I mentioned the other 2 ladies. I'll mention Mary.
How did you happen to meet her and get together with her?
She worked at the office supply store, and I was making a project for the fire station, and I happened to go in there for supplies, and that's how I met her. I was divorced from my second wife then. I met Mary, and she was divorced and had a little boy, Brian, who I love very much. He's a fine young man. He's 15 now. He was in nursery school when I met her, and now he's a sophomore in high school. I can't believe it. But Mary lived at Rich Valley. She had a little house out there where she lived. She played the organ at the Methodist Church in Rich Valley for like 8 years. I think 6 before I met her and a couple after. We moved into town and we went back out to Rich Valley every Wednesday for her to play the organ in the church, and Saturdays to practice for Sunday, and Sunday for church. And after a couple of years, it got to be quite a hassle running back and forth all the time like that 3 times a week, and so we just dropped it, and she has her own Lowry organ at home. But I met Mary, and we got married, and she's a heck of a nice gal. She really is. And I try to treat Mary like I wished I'd treated my first wife. And that's the truth of it. But she is a fine lady, and I love her very much. So, and we get along great. And my son Brian, I don't think of him as my stepson. To me, he's my son. He calls me Bill. And when Mary and I got married, I gave Brian his choice. I said, whatever you want to call me is fine, whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
I used to have a stepmother try to make me call her mom and used to beat me, and it didn't work out too good. And I didn't want to go through that with Brian.
Yeah.
And he's... I gave him his choice, and today he still calls me Bill. I wish he'd call me Dad, but he calls me Bill.
Yeah.
To all his friends, he calls me Dad. I'll have to go ask my dad this or that.
Yeah.
I said, why do you do that, Brian? Why do you call me Dad to your friends and Bill to me? And he said, well, it's just easier than trying to explain it to him.
Yeah.
So.
You ever thought you'd like to see the wall?
In Washington, D.C.?
Yeah.
I have no desire to.
One way or the other.
No. I couldn't care less. When I seen it in the TV, my first impression was they hid it in the ground. They're ashamed of it.
Yeah.
It's black, which I associate with evil.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have friends that have their name on the wall. Both Air Force and Army.
Mhm.
One of the guys I was stationed with in the Air Force decided to hitchhike from Bungtao to Saigon. He didn't make it.
Mhm.
Last he was seen, there was him and two other guys were running across this field, and the VCs were chasing them.
Mhm.
But they were Air Force, and unarmed.
Well, as you look back now, 20 years, basically, what do you think of this whole situation?
Waste.
Waste of what?
Total waste of time.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a no-win war. We made no effort to win the war.
Mhm.
That war could have been over quite quickly if they'd wanted to concentrate on Hanoi. I understand there's some very big dikes up there that hold out a very big ocean, and similar to Holland. And I think one plane load of bombs on the right dike in the right place, and the war would have been over. But we'd have wiped out several million people.
Are you of the impression that we didn't want to win, or we couldn't win, or?
I felt like, looking back at it, I felt when I went that I was doing a good thing. I felt like I'm going to go help fight the communists. When I got over there and I talked to the people, they didn't care who was there. Americans, Russians, they couldn't care less. They said, we're getting rich. And they were.
Mhm.
As I look back, I feel like it was a no-win deal. I feel used. Was I dumb enough? I volunteered. What the heck? So, I feel like it was an experience that if I hadn't went, I'd always felt like I missed something. I'm glad I went, but I don't ever want to go again. I felt it was a politician's war. I felt it was a political war. I felt like we were showing Russia, hey, we're willing to spend all these millions of dollars. We're willing to spend all these lives just to prove to you that, hey, we can do it.
Mhm.
We're willing to go halfway around the world and fight a war over some stupid country. But we made no effort to win that war.
Yeah.
We didn't lose it. We just quit.
Yeah.
So that's the way I feel about it. We didn't try to win it. We didn't go over there with the intention of trying to win it. I believe it was MacArthur back in World War II, and I think they called it Burma then. Stay the hell out of there, because you're wasting your time. You're never going to win a war over there. It's just not suitable for ground warfare to ever win it. But I don't feel like we really tried. The guys were willing to try.
Yeah.
And I did find from personal experience that Americans are very mean people if they want to be. They did some very cruel things to some people. I'm thinking of the guy with his hands tied together, and they hooked a chain on a tank and ran him till he dropped and then drug him. And at the time, I thought it was funny.
Mhm. I assume this was a Viet Cong.
Yeah, I assume he was.
Yeah.
But they tied his hands together, not his feet.
Yeah.
They just didn't want to drag him. They wanted to run him till he dropped, and then they drug him.
Yeah.
And they did it behind a tank. Like you can drag an elephant with a tank.
Yeah.
But at the time, I thought it was funny. I laughed along with the rest of the guys. So we used to laugh at stuff like that over there. And I look back at it, I can't believe that was me over there laughing at all that inhumanity to man. And it's just, I can't believe I used to think some of that stuff was funny. I used to participate in some of that stuff. I can't believe it was me doing that.
We're getting now to the end of our story. Is there anything else that you think that might be of interest that you'd like to say? Of course, you can always write it. You can always write it on the end of the story.
No, I spent 1 year out of my life taking lives, and I spent the next 17 saving them. And I've got 3 more years to go in the fire department. I feel like I've done something worthwhile in my life. I don't know how many lives I've saved. I'm sure I've saved several.
We saved a little baby.
When did I do that?
You started that little baby's life there out in North.
Oh, I don't call that saving life.
Well, I say start.
I might have started it. I don't really even think of it as saving lives. I think of it as prolonging the inevitable. 'Cause we're all going to die. And I think of it as prolonging the inevitable. But for clarity, I'll call it saving lives. We make 7-8 runs a day on the average at the fire station. We only made 3 or 4 yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
In a year, it'll average out 7 or 8 probably. Yeah. And if even only 1% of those were life-threatening, I've saved a heck of a lot of lives. And you feel good about that.
Do you just talk about Vietnam with anyone?
No.
Never?
I never bring it up.
Yeah. Is this the most you've discussed Vietnam in a long time?
It's the most more than I've discussed it in 20 years total.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, I don't talk about Vietnam. Yeah. I do to you. I know you. I've known you for years and years. And I feel it's nice to have an oral history like this and leave something for someone to hear how you felt about something. Yeah. Not that it's going to make any big difference to anybody, but how I feel about something. But I think it's nice to do this. I didn't volunteer to come up here and talk to you, but I was quite willing to.
Yeah. Which I appreciate.
Really thank you. I just don't talk about Vietnam.
Yeah.
And when I do, I immediately try to go to the fun thing. Yeah. I don't want to talk about the bad.
Why do you think so many, we're just conversation now, why do you think so many guys have so damn much trouble?
I think
they do.
They dwell on the bad.
Yeah.
And my advice to any one of them would be to try and think about the fun times you had.
Yeah.
And they had plenty of them.
Yeah.
Everybody over there did.
Yeah.
I don't care if it was chasing some whore naked through Saigon. They had a good time. They did something funny. Mm-hmm. They saw funny things. They quit thinking about the bad stuff. Mm-hmm. And I get all worked up about the bad when I get thinking about it. Mm-hmm. I went to a gun show at Fort Wayne Coliseum last winter. And there sat an M60 machine gun in all its ugly glory. Mm-hmm. And I was an M60 machine gunner in Vietnam for a while. And they put out a lot of lead. But there it was on the table at the gun show, and I just stood there and stared at it. I don't even know how long I stood there and how long I stared at that gun. But all these memories came flooding back when I looked at that one weapon. I thought I buried them years ago, and they all came back, every one. Mm-hmm. And I bet I went back to that table 2 or 3 times and just stood and looked at the gun. It's quite a gun. But it brought back, just looking at that weapon, brought back all the memories. Yeah. Every darn stupid one of them.
Huh. Isn't that amazing?
But
were you exposed to Agent Orange?
I don't know.
Have you been tested?
No.
Why not?
I just never did.
Yeah.
I applied to the state of Indiana as a possible Agent Orange victim.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I did, and I don't know if I didn't. Yeah. They did a lot of that from airplanes, and they did a lot of it at night.
Well, pretty good proof would be that physically you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, great.
And children are normal and everything else. I think that's
right.
I think that's a pretty good criteria right there.
We just had the fire container yesterday. Did you see the picture in the paper?
Yeah.
that big ox up on top there is me.
Yeah.
I just ran up that thing with a 70-pound section of hose in my hand, rolled up. So I'm pretty good shape.
You're in pretty good shape. Yeah. And your dad's still alive, so it means that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How old is he?
69.
69.
Maybe
Yeah.
70 in September.
Yeah. Well, that's an indication that they're long livers.
So.
I hope that you feel free that when you get this is to add what other little stories that you think of, and just scribble them on there, or scribble them on a sheet of paper, and we'll add it to it, and then we'll type it, and we'll send it back to you, and take it from there.
If you feel it's what you want.
Yeah, that's what we want.
I don't talk about a lot of things, and Vietnam experiences, I don't. If someone brings up Vietnam and I was there, I say, "Oh, where were you?" And then we talk about Vietnam a little bit.